The red coat.
All right, here we go, guys. All right, lead heads. Welcome back to another episode of the Talking Lead podcast, where we have been leducating the uneducated since 2012. 13 years of dishing out the education here on the Talking Lead podcast, and we are glad to be continuing this leducation with the episode that we have today. I'm going to get into that. If you watched our social media posts, you know a little bit about what it's going to be about today. And for those who participated with the questions and comments on our Instagram post, we're going to have
Mission First Tactical
nice
is the official
giveaway.
Tactical accessories provider for the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code Leadhead for an exclusive 20%
Mission First
discount
Tactical
on
30-round
all
mags,
orders.
if it's legal in your state.
Those are sharp.
So those are the prizes that we're going to be dishing out for participation today. So thanks for those who participated in advance. If you didn't get an opportunity, make sure you go back to our previous episode. This is the one that we had some former and just recently retired military fellas on, standing up or standing down. It's the military's COVID vaccine mandate, the discharges and executive orders that just came out by Trump, and kind of help some of the men and women who aren't familiar with that navigate and maybe get some ideas on how they might need to go about handling this new opportunity that Trump has introduced to everyone. So go back, check that out. The video's on Rumble. I did post the video on YouTube. I know I said I was going to quit posting to YouTube, but I'm going to give them another chance to see if maybe they've changed their bullshit. But I highly doubt it. So go to Rumble, subscribe on Rumble. That's where you're going to find all our videos is on Rumble. The audio still goes to YouTube. If for whatever reason you're listening to our podcast on YouTube, more power to you. Enjoy. But this episode, we're going to be delving a little more into the executive protection topic. We did a few episodes back where we had several executive protection specialists on the show during Trump's first assassination attempt. And I just kind of wanted to educate people on the basics of executive protection. And we had some great guys on that episode. One of those coming back this episode because I want to deep dive into more of what his company is doing, because I didn't realize the extent of services that they do offer with the SAPS, Squadron Augmented Protection Services. Ladies and gentlemen, Bryan Seaver is joining us again. Welcome back, Bryan.
Hey, Marty, how you doing?
Doing well, brother. I love
good to see you.
Your backdrop there. That's a little better than your garage that you were in last time, I think.
Yeah, we're making movies now, so I did a little bit of Humphrey Bogart over here.
That's right. We're going to talk about that too, because I teased it a little bit on the Instagrams. Last podcast had Lee Jackson on with us also. He's joining us this episode as well. But we did tease it a little bit last episode. You guys had a little production going on there this past couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about it. And we're lucky enough to debut it here on the show. So thank you for trusting us with that.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time. That was, and we had your wife handled all of our craft services. We had the best grub that we could have. I mean, man, how cool was that?
She is a jewel. We're not married. She's not my wife, But,
oh, well, my apologies.
I mean, I get that all the time. We've been dating for so long. I mean, people think we're married. So
Gotcha.
I just don't want her listening to this. And you know how women, you're like, oh, he's telling people we're married now. Oh,
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, gotta make an honest woman out of her, Marty.
It's more likely, Marty, that she's going to ask, "Why are you not married?"
No, we've been down that road. Been there, done that. But no, I appreciate you setting her up and giving her the opportunity to do that, because, man, that was some good craft services right there.
It was good. Yeah, it was a fun day. That was a lot of stuff to get done in one day, and man, we hammered it out.
Yeah, we got it done, and I was surprised the amount of filming that you were able to accomplish. I mean, everybody had their ducks in a row. Ollie, is it Ollie or Oli?
It's Ollie. Ollie is a production manager and agent in the entertainment industry, and has done a ton of directorial types of taskings for everything from music videos. And furthermore, he was a stuntman in his former life. He was the guy that played Captain America in all the Marvel movies. He was on Game of Thrones as one of the horse riders for every single show. He was the first guy to ever drive a motorcycle to the Arctic Circle, and so he's got a real adventure pedigree there, and he's really good at getting stuff down on camera and getting it done quick. He's sharp.
So I got to ask you, because I'm a big Marvel fan. I've watched all the Marvel movies, the Avengers.
Yeah.
That one scene where Captain America was fighting himself and he knocked himself out, and he said, "Now that's the ass of America." Was that Ollie?
Probably. I don't know. I think Ollie's main focus with the Captain America movies was the motorcycle stunts. So if Captain America is jumping over something, he's on a motorcycle. That's Ollie doing it. He's a motorcycle guy and an equestrian. He's a horseman.
No homo intended, but yeah, I just
no, yeah, I bet.
Checking.
Ollie is also from Brentwood, England, so he's another one of the Brits that we've got over here working with us, and he brings a lot to the table.
That's why I keep calling him Oli, because when they say it, it sounds like Oli, not Ollie.
yeah, indeed.
So you have a group here with us today. We've got 3 new guys, and then let's just start with Lee. Lee's joining us again from last episode. I'm going to move you up on top tier there, Lee, because you're becoming a regular on the show.
Yeah, howdy, leadheads. Super pleasure to be back here again, especially promoting our services as a security entity. This organisation is something certainly to be reckoned with. There's a lot of cool things coming, and you've heard enough from me on previous shows, so you kind of get a gist of who I am. So it's nice to be able to show what we do and how we do it, and it's nice to have the team on here and share some of that with them.
And for those that are just joining us new to the show, just give them a little recap of your background with the Army.
Yeah, so I left school way back in 2006 and joined the British Army as a boy soldier at the age of 16. Trained up, did my training in the Royal Engineers, the Corps of Royal Engineers. Initially, I was part of a combat engineer unit and trained up as a REST, which is Royal Engineer Search Teams. Operated in Afghanistan. I say operated, I soldiered in Afghanistan. After that, moved into K9 work, and I've nearly got now, when I had it up, it's probably about 15, nearly 16 years experience in K9, ranging from working on the 2012 Olympics to Ryder Cup, Cheltenham Festival, all the stuff that I've done here in the United States. I recently immigrated. Well, I say recently, about 16 months ago now. I had the wonderful, most gracious opportunity for me to be able to put myself and my family in a wonderful position. And that none of that could be done without the guys sat on this call right now. They sponsored my immigration, and they're ultimately responsible for my position here today. And along with that, a lot of my expertise lay in explosive ordnance detection, detecting IEDs, and going through the appropriate process of how to handle them. You're gonna see a video later on. It's pretty cool. I'm excited for you all to see it, as well as every other video out there, just to show what our wonderful animals can do. But as well, like I said, these guys on this call have just got as much to say than I do.
Very good. And Bryan, I want you to introduce the gang here. But just to give our listeners a little bit overview about the Squadron Augmented Protection Services, because in the past when we've had you on, we had you on with talking about the Tennessee Rangers.
Yeah,
a great organization that you founded here in Tennessee. And at the time, I don't think we really talked about this, but we talked a little bit about the other company,
Fencebridge. Yeah,
Fencebridge.
Exactly. So the Tennessee Rangers, we are a nonprofit charity, and we do a ton of emergency management work, emergency response, all types of catastrophic relief. We come in as the first people on the ground that a person will see when their home is hit by a tornado, when their belongings have been swept away by a flood. But also, we are a brotherhood. We are a kinsman redemption group in a lot of ways. We work really hard to make opportunity for our membership, and with that comes the ability to employ our membership. So, if a Tennessee Ranger is, for instance, during the COVID situation, we had a lot of members that were either active military or in the private sector, in the public sector, working as law enforcement, and they were fired or downsized, etc., by virtue of the COVID epidemic, and we needed a vehicle to provide those guys with some work, so that when they fall on hard times or they need a job, or if they just need a career path. We've got a lot of youth in our organization, a lot of young guys that come out of the wrestling community here in Tennessee. We sponsor a lot of wrestling teams, so inevitably we get a lot of young wrestlers that kind of gravitate to our unit. And these guys need a job, they need a career path. And we created SAPS as a subsidiary partner of the Tennessee Rangers to be that vehicle, to be that employment vehicle for those gentlemen. And we've been in business now for over 3 years, and we have the best clientele, we have the best personnel, and we have really created ourselves as a fixture in the Nashville community. Having said that, we do a ton of work overseas and have spent the entire creation of SAPS working overseas in different environments in different countries, with different types of tasking. So it's been a real adventure over the last few years. Having said that, we've got on the panel my COO and my CFO, as well as our lead K9 handler. Lee is our director of K9 operations, and Will Hammond is our lead K9 handler. Will Hammond is a 82nd Airborne veteran, Afghan combat vet, and was a K9 handler in Afghanistan. Pretty cool. There's actually a really neat video of Will working his dog in Afghanistan and giving an interview. I believe it was with Army Times or one of those. Will, you'll have to correct me.
Yeah, one of them was actually National Geographic, and the other one, I believe it was like some network, within the Army.
Yeah, National Geographic. Wow.
Will does a great job with us, and his dog is Titan, who makes a grand appearance in our video. You'll see Titan doing a full bite suit work, and Titan normally doesn't do that kind of work for us. Titan is typically a bomb detection dog, and we use him extensively in our work in all of our venues around town, around Nashville, and Titan does a great job, and Will is his handler. Will's also a former police officer, and even a police officer still to this day, and works with us and leads the way on the K9 front.
Very cool. Well, welcome to the show, Will. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Look forward to hearing more from you.
Yeah.
And I got to hang out with Titan a little bit. Titan's quick. He's fast. he likes his chew toy. I still got a little bruise right there on my pinky.
He likes my ass. That's all I know.
Yeah, he ate Lee up in the bite suit.
I got a picture of that too.
So. Moving to the right, we have our COO. We will call him Pink on this podcast. Pink is a longtime associate of mine, a great friend of mine, and I believe the first time I met Pink in person, he had transported 2 Pelican cases full of rifles and pistols to me while I was on tour with a celebrity, and I had just come out of Canada, and I was back in the U.S., but I couldn't make it back to home base to recover my guns that I couldn't have in Canada, and he flew them to me, and my team was then equipped with firearms. Pink is a U.S. Marine Corps scout sniper and a maritime security expert. He has worked extensively off the coast of Africa as a maritime security personnel, and also is a linguist. Pink, how many languages do you speak? Don't be shy.
These days, I'm usually sticking with just the English and the Spanish, the ones that I'm perfectly fluent in. I do have a gift of being able to immerse myself in other languages and just pick up on the nouns and verbs. And you just gotta get out there and put yourself into situations. And I think everybody would be very surprised at how quickly they can pick up a foreign language. But over my course of time working in maritime security throughout the Middle East and Africa, I was pretty solid there for a good bit with my Arabic and my Swahili.
How are you with your British?
I have a terrible British accent, but you put a couple whiskey drinks in me, and I'm certainly certain to start it up. You usually only hear it after I've been watching too much soccer on the weekends. I'm a big soccer fan, so after yelling at my team for losing on Saturdays or Sundays, I'll develop a bit of an accent. But here recently, given the majority of our international work that I've been tasked with, I've been practicing my Creole lately, and especially living down here in Key West, there's no shortage of people that I can practice with. So everywhere I go, everywhere I go, you can hear me just jabbering out "sac passe, naboule." They love it down here.
Yeah, I was going to interject there and say his Creole has certainly increased over the last 3 years. He won't say it about himself, but I've been part of those conversations everywhere from Haiti to Detroit, and the conversations that he has had in Creole. Yeah, he won't say it, but he has a gift.
Indeed. Let me introduce my CFO for SAPS, Golden Green. Golden is our money man. Golden is also a U.S. Marine veteran, comms Marine, commo Marine, and which was actually my dad's job in the Army. My dad was a commo guy, and Golden is a business expert in every way and runs our SAPS formation with excellent hands. So,
Golden, welcome in. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you, Lefty. I appreciate it.
And we understand the casting couch is closed today. That's why you got
it. It is definitely closed today.
Blurred out.
2 seconds.
Today only.
We appreciate you accommodating that.
You know, I will add something here that a lot of people may not know, even within our organization. You know, a lot of this came about. I got a phone call at like 6 a.m. from Pink of, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, why are you calling me at 6 a.m.? And, you know, the comment I get back is, well, it's not 6 a.m. here. Well, Pink and Bryan are at a bar in Tanzania. And
typical Tuesday.
This is really, I mean, as funny as it is, this is how the whole thing started. I had never met Bryan. Pink and I were pretty close friends, and I get a call at like 6 a.m. of, yeah, you need to meet this guy. And from there, this whole world of SAPS, Fence Bridge, all came about. I'm not going to go into detail about what the conversations were, but it's so unique that everything that has transpired in the last 4 years, it's been life-changing for all of us.
I can imagine, and especially with the wide variety of services that you guys offered. Again, once I started doing more research into you guys and talking with Bryan, I mean, the whole outside the executive protection part of it, I mean, you guys are doing business intelligence, corporate security, executive drivers, estate security, explosive detection. I mean, the list goes on, and that's what I want to, really get into today, is talk about, those services and really the importance of a specialized protection agency like yourselves. The need for that, and not just here in America, but like you said, you guys are kind of doing a lot of things overseas. And I guess we're a little coddled here in America. I mean, yeah, we've had our brushes and our run-ins with terrorism and the whatnot. I mean, for instance, what was in the news recently, the healthcare guy that was, gunned down in the middle. Where was that, New York or wherever he was?
Yeah, it was in New York.
Yeah,
New York. CEO of United.
Yeah, that guy probably never crossed his mind that he needed, some sort of a personal security.
Well, as a matter of fact, Lefty, that gentleman actually had a security team, and his security team was not with him that morning. He walked to the convention that he was attending without them. But he actually did have security. The insurance industry gets a lot of threats. There are a large spectrum of threat vectors that come at a company like an insurance company, and he absolutely had security. It just wasn't in place and wasn't there to do its job.
So he didn't have security.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's only good when you have it, right?
That's right. Security is really when you get down to it, security is a drag. It's not something that you can hold out and shine as this is this big expense that I have to come out on that somehow keeps money coming back into my pocket, or at least it's not originally perceived that way. But when a client really has a specialized company that can do things like threat analysis, that can do things like internet threat analysis, and competitive intelligence, not to mention being able to look at what your competitors are doing and what you need to do to protect them from looking at your stuff and your new widget that you're coming out with. So once a client sees that there are huge monetary benefits to having security, it changes the game. Even in something like an entertainment venue or a honky tonk in downtown Nashville, it's very apparent when a company like us comes in, and there are no more fire marshal fines. There are no more ABC alcohol fines. There are no more lawsuits for fights or injuries. And when they see that kind of thing and they see those kind of results, they see the money that's saved and the amount of liability that's minimized by an offering like we provide. But it's really a testament to the personnel that we put forward as a company. It's not just our C-suite, but our line guards and folks that really provide that staffing are a testament to what we are as a company, and it's a level up from what people really normally look at as security.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the way we view security is not the standard. We like to go above and beyond what the standard of security people think should be. So we will invest that time and we will invest that effort and training into our staff members to ensure that we're going to provide the best possible service that we can provide. So every member of staff we have exceeds any state requirement, hands down. And yes, although they may need to do specific state training, but what I'm saying is the training beyond that exceeds it, and it sets the industry. It sets a good precedence there. I
can't imagine that there's a state standard for explosive detection services.
Well, that's interesting because across the states itself, other than law enforcement, there is no governing body. There is no governing body for K9. There is no governing body for search techniques or detection techniques or IED recognition. There is no governing body, which is a shame, especially within the climate we live in.
Yeah,
it's a shame that the security industry.
I don't think there should be a government agency involved with that, and I hate to cut you off there, but I think there should be an industry standard. You guys should get amongst yourselves and come up with.
Exactly. I think
we're in the process of that.
Keep the government out of it.
It's very interesting that you bring that up, because we have spent countless hours over the last several months working toward that standard and showing people what that standard needs to be, and quite honestly, just being that standard.
Today we're cleaning the SIG P365. You're going to want to follow the SIG guidelines for disassembly and reassembly. You're going to want to take the firearm apart, put it out piece by piece, and then you're going to grab your favorite SEAL 1 CLP Plus product. Whether it's paste, liquid, or aerosol, they're all going to do the same thing. Today we're using the paste, and you can see that it comes out and it spreads very easily. Using the nylon brush, you're going to go in and you're going to cover the entire firearm, inside and out. We are safe on all metals, plastics, composites, rubber, wood, leather. So you're going to go piece by piece, putting it on there, wiping it on to clean it. Then you're going to go back and you're going to wipe it off. Remember, SEAL 1 is a wipe on, wipe off process. Use Q-tips to get down in the little nooks and crannies that the microfiber cloth does not get to. Wipe it all off, and do not forget to do the magazine. Periodically, you're going to want to take the magazine apart.
SEAL 1 is a proud sponsor of the TalkingLead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code Leadhead for a 25% off discount.
Get it together. You're going to perform a function test, make sure it's operating properly. and then you're done. Remember, seal one and done.
Yeah. I think you guys are, that, especially in this area of the country. I think you're kind of new, and you've started a whole new concept. And I want to get into that, and I want to talk about how this all came to be. If you guys want to go into the details of that, but before we get off, this topic, the need for these type services seems to be increasing. And what do you attribute that to? Why do you think the need for the outside agencies to come in and provide personal protection, and whether it's the internet, whether it's physical or some unseen things, why do you think that need is growing?
Well, Bryan touched on it briefly in being proactive. We're very proactive in the things that we do. I know with certainty that our approach to the way things are done is much different than other people. I mean, this security as a whole is a very reactive industry, and we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money to be proactive in those things. The way the world has gone is so many people that have never thought that they are at a security risk really are, whether that is directly a physical threat, or that that is somebody is trying to steal my identity. And we work in all of those scenarios where this has been an industry that we are a drag on the bottom line. Numerous times, I can't tell you how many times I have heard, well, we've not had an issue yet. Well, when you do, it's going to cost you millions of dollars.
Just like the healthcare guy, Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, another part of that the clients, especially, the ones that we have on Broadway and the ones that I've come from, prior to being with SAPS, I was with STA Contracting. And at that time, we built it up to where we were controlling 13 different bars on Broadway in Nashville. And anyone who's been there will tell you that these are not just your little hole in the wall bars with some big dude standing at the front door, not talking to anybody and just picking people out and roadhouse kicking everybody. Nashville is a different animal. You're looking at most bars over there on Friday, Saturday night pushing, upwards of $200,000 in sales. And a big thing that I focused on when I got into this industry was that, there's a perception with the security industry from the client's point of view that's what you get. You just, I'm going to hire security, I'm going to hire some meatheads, and they're going to stand around and look mean. But, when it comes down to actually providing, the service for your customers, to keep your customers safe, to keep your employees safe, the girls behind the bar, that guy that's taking out the trash in between all the rowdy customers, your bands, things like that. What you're really looking for is customer service first. We've spent the vast majority of my career really tailoring our services to focusing on the individual guard, not so much hey, are you going to be able to put this guy in an arm bar under these scenarios, but are you going to be able to identify that threat and mostly keep everybody happy. It's amazing how different your night can go in a busy bar when you have security guards that are smiling, guys that are happy, guys that when customers come in, they acknowledge them. Hey, glad you're here. Number one, I teach my guys that's a good, initiating these conversations is a good way to make sure that you're not letting some weirdo in the bar, or, someone who's way too drunk to be in there. But, keeping that mentality, that everyone's here to have fun. Everyone's here to do the job, engage with other people until it's time to do that actual security job. The thing that we need to focus on a lot is just customer service.
Yeah. And that graphic that I just pulled up is a violence, I guess, report of Nashville. And you can see most of it's concentrated there in in downtown Nashville, and that's, it's a busy area, and it has exponentially gotten busier over the past 10 years.
And just to touch on what Pink was saying, customer service goes hand in hand with hospitality. Yeah. And I know Will is one of my team leads on a contract we have, and within over a 16-month period, we have had one incident of violence due to no fault of any security member of staff. That was purely out of the ordinary. And I mean, Will can tell you, the hospitality aspect of it is what wins the battles. And that feeds also into the executive protection paradigm. It feeds into that area when we're talking about being diplomatic, and when we're talking about customer service and that, it's absolutely, your image is everything. And being hospitable is everything. I mean, Will, you tell me.
I agree 100% on Pink's front and on Lee's front. The thing I'm noticing is something I noticed too in law enforcement is there was a period of people, it was, a bunch of hammers. Let's see a bunch of nails. And that was the kind of the mindset going into it. And instead it became this thing of de-escalation and being able to use your head. So you have to use your physical body less. And what I mean by that is when you go into a situation, half the time I can talk somebody out of the door without even having to touch them. And all that is because of the mindset, right? They're in an intoxicated state. Most of them are ego driven, and they're not there to just have a good time. They're there to provoke people. And it's all about knowing how to feed that with what needs to be said or done in the situation and reading the environment. Now, what makes us different on a huge front here, and Lee can back me up on this, we've been told on countless occasions that would have gone a lot worse if that was a different security team. And what I mean by that is it's okay to let somebody win verbally. If you can get them out of the door and you can make sure there's no liability factors, there's no complacency taking place of the other scenarios going on. For instance, I had a guy. So one of my tics is if somebody puts their finger in my face, I can't do that. That is something where I really struggle. And I have to separate myself because, it's a switch. So we all have them. One of the other guys there noticed something that I didn't notice, because once that guy put his finger in my face, it kind of made me zone in on him because clearly I didn't care for the guy. But there was some other things going on around me that I funneled into and I did not like. Once it was brought to my attention, the way we handled it was absolutely the best way. And I can't say I would have done it any differently now.
Can you talk about what the scenario was?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout the night, we have to do underage sweeps. Especially once we stop serving food, or certain venues have different rules about stuff like that. One of the smaller guards had walked up. It was one of our female guards, for instance, and she had asked to see somebody's ID, and they threw a fit about it. It was a Hispanic group of people, and they were all wearing very nice clothing. And I think the guy's boots he had on, they probably valued at like $900. They're just boots. And he refused to give it up, and he started kind of becoming argumentative about it. And I said, "What's going on?" And he started cussing and using profanities, and he automatically put his hand in my face. And I kind of was like, "Whoa, you don't need to be so aggressive." And then the conversation escalated. As it was escalating, I was so focused on him that I didn't recognize that behind me at one of the tables, he had a bunch of friends. Yeah. And their body postures changed and everything's changing. And that was all something I didn't see changing. And then the reaction I had from one of the managers there was different. Normally he's very supportive of my decisions and stuff. And I was like, they got to go right now. And he pointed something out to me after the fact. And it made sense to me that things were escalating beyond a point that was unnecessary. Yes, sure. It hurt my ego a little bit, but I would much rather my ego be hurt and everybody go home okay at the end of the day. Not only for us, but for the client. And so what we did is we walked them out. We let them finish their drinks. We kind of made a compromise, and it was all about how we talked, right? They didn't want to do this, but we didn't want them to continue to stay. So as we were sitting there talking, it was more or less verbal judo. I'm sure you've heard that term before. That's used in the police world pretty regularly these days. And honestly, that skill is, you can't replace that skill. If you can sit there and talk with somebody who you know a second ago you wanted to go fisticuffs with, but it doesn't have to be that way. And everything ended up working out fine. All I did was start agreeing with the guy. I pulled the people off the floor that didn't feel like, that I didn't feel like they were going to be able to help me in that scenario. And I put people in places where they could back me up, where I needed them to back me up. And I just put a smile on my face. And as much as that guy was trying to antagonize me, I wasn't going to let it happen.
Yeah. And it's like Dalton says, be nice.
Be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Time to not be nice.
I know.
The thing that we have to remember is you're never going to get a 5-star review for kicking someone out. You know, no one's going to say I went to this bar and the security was super nice after I puked over everything and told them I was going to fight them. You know, it doesn't work that way. But you know, as far as
reviews either, you know,
right? Yeah. So
and I'm not, you know, really what this boils down to, what this truly boils down to, is supervisors having good supervisors that are experienced, that are mature. And then having training and reinforcing that protocol periodically. You have got to train your people. And you've got to hire well. You've got to hire folks that aren't there just for a paycheck, but rather folks that are there to be security professionals. And that's really what we pride ourselves in. We hire a specific type of person, and you know, it takes a lot of initiative to work with us. We are not an easy company to work with. If you think working with Elon Musk is tough, try working with you know, Lee and Golden and Will as your supervisors. It's we're a special place, a special company. And you know, a lot, you mentioned you didn't realize all that we do and the level of capability that we have, especially when it comes to things like weapons handling and medical, you know, medical services, medical training. You know, it's something that's really needed. When you look at that graph and you see that that's where all the violence happens in downtown Nashville. Well, it's also the biggest target for terrorism in this state. And, you know, having individuals, we have a lot of armed personnel downtown that are working in the most vital venues in all of the state of Tennessee. And, you know, having somebody that can actually deal with a threat and analyze that threat as it approaches is super vital to the safety of a place like Nashville when you get down to it. And these venues are realizing that in quick fashion. It really shows, and they see it when they see a company like us come in and be able to provide that level of security, that level of medical support, that level of professionalism.
Yeah. And you're going to need the medical capabilities and skills a lot more than you're going to need the firearms, you know, in situations like downtown Nashville.
It's used a ton, and our clients love it in that they know that
hand in hand.
Yep.
I mean, when you got chairs flying off of buildings, Jason,
all of us.
Quick note: that's not one of our contracts.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier on, you know, this all comes down to what Bryan's saying. You know, specific individual with the correct training and the correct leadership. Because what we often see in security is egos. There's a lot of egos flying about in security, and there's a lot of people, well, we're going to do it this way, and that's my word, that's it, done, dusted. But realistically speaking, what we bring as SAPS is there's going to be a final word, but that final word is not going to be without advice. It ain't going to be without guidance. It ain't going to be without knowledge and training. And the decision will be based upon that appropriate training, such as, for example, I'm not going to give any tricks and secrets away, but psychological behavior, understanding why an individual is behaving, why they are behaving, understanding something called an unconscious bias, understanding that they may have had a rough day at work or just broken up with a wife, and having the ability to have empathy. And that's what sets everything aside, is having all that there. Like again, reiterating what Bryan said, great leadership, great training, and a certain kind of individual which can do that. Because it's not easy. It is really not an easy job, especially in any setting of security, whether that is you are sat on a gatehouse just logging vehicles in, and you might think you never come into conflict with anything, or whether you're working on a bar and you're dealing with drunk customers, or whether you're working an executive protection detail with an A-list client. All this training and the fundamentals of it underpins everything in our members of staff and our guys, and what we try to, well, not try, but what we provide as a company. So,
and let's talk about this because you hit on a great aspect of it, because you guys keep talking about the training. So just take a newbie, a new hire, and just kind of run through the training program that you put them through.
Yeah. But before we go into detail on that, and I'm all about let's talk about that. I'm going to be much more direct and less politically correct than Bryan, who is our CEO.
Oh God, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
This might be a moment.
Jesus,
cut the feed.
I will say with confidence, I've got the best damn guys in all of Nashville. Okay, whether it's training, it's their leadership, I don't care what it is. I say that 100% with confidence, and a lot goes into that. We've spent a lot of time, we've spent a lot of money. We're proactive in things where this industry as a whole is very reactive. Security is a drag on the bottom line. Security this, security that. The reality is, if we're proactive in what we do, we can add to the bottom line. We do training around the country with different venues and different clients, and every one of those trainings ends with and begins with hospitality. We're the first person that somebody sees. We're the last person that somebody sees. We set the tone for their time in whatever venue it is. I think too often we're not direct about this. We talk about the things that are required and the things that aren't required, when the reality is there's so much more to this than what we have to have. When I put a guy in a certain and specific post, he really dictates the way that the client and the client's customer experiences the entire night, regardless of what that situation is. And I guess at the end of the day, I know that my guys operate completely different than what the typical security guy does. Will, Lee, both as examples of guys who are out there every single day. They're frontline guys, but they think at such a higher level than what is expected. You know, they have conversations both with the client and with the client or the customer that it can add to the bottom line, not just be a distraction to or a take away from.
Yeah, 100%. And Marty, I might add, you know, our talking about the beginnings of a new SAPS guy. The majority of all of our supervisors, I think every one of our supervisors at this point is a Tennessee Ranger. So they have already proved themselves through our NDOC, through our yearly and regular training that we do as Tennessee Rangers. And part of that is being a pistolero. We have a very arduous pistol qualification program that we put all of our people through. And you don't carry a firearm with the Tennessee Rangers or with SAPS unless you are an actual shooter. You know, you have to really prove it to be able to carry a firearm with us, and that's not the case.
Qualifications that you require.
Yeah, so a lot of what we do stems from the Modern Samurai Project. So Jedelinsky's program of the modern red dot pistol is the cornerstone of a lot of what we do. And from that, you know, there's a whole curriculum that we've designed as far as our qualification program, our course of fire. We do not just do the standard. This is what you got to have to get your Tennessee Armed Guard card, which is basically, I believe, what is it? Basically, 50 shots that you have to do.
Yeah, for Tennessee Guard card, it's 50 shots on target, different sort of yardage.
Right.
Is it more stringent than the police?
Well, you know, I'd have to say it depends on the police. Metro Nashville has a really good firearms training program. One of their lead instructors is one of our guys, and he's a phenomenal trainer. And you know, it's just like the shooting at the Covenant School. Those guys that responded from the I believe it was the Flex team that responded over there, those were really good shooters, and at least one of them was a Modern Samurai graduate. So you know, it's a real essential part of our company that if you're an armed guy working with us, you are a pistolero. Now, we also have plenty of armed guard or unarmed guard slots that we service out as well, and those guys have an extremely vital tasking as well. You know, it's not easy being an unarmed guard, and especially in the environments that we work in. We do everything from warehouse security, which is typically an armed position, and we do a lot of honky-tonk security downtown. These are some of the most vital venues in the state. And, you know, you can't have everybody armed that's working in a security footprint inside of a honky-tonk. You're going to have a lot of guys that, you know, in the colloquial, in the bouncer role, the bouncer and cooler role. So, you know, you know, Will mentioned verbal judo earlier. The ability to de-escalate and the ability to have that training. We have, you know, anybody that works with us anybody that works for us for that matter, but especially folks that it's required by the state. Anybody that is working in a establishment that serves alcohol has to have the Dallas Law qualification. And that's a program on de-escalation, first aid, etc. That's really designed to keep people from getting hurt in alcohol establishments.
Is that like a universal training
that's required by the entire state of Tennessee? So any security guard that's working in an establishment that serves alcohol has to have the Dallas Law qualification under their belt, on their guard card, as well as at least their unarmed qualification if they're not going to carry a weapon. If they're going to carry a weapon, whether it's a ASP, a taser, pepper spray, etc., firearm, they have to have their armed card, and with a specific amendment for each weapon. So that's kind of the qual.
I was trying to Google it right here to see what it just. So keep talking. I'll see if I can.
Yeah, essentially the Dallas law is it's 4 hours of training. It's 4 hours of online training, or you can do it in person if you can find an instructor. But it's usually done online, and it covers 4 categories. It covers first aid, CPR, safe restraint, and de-escalation. All right, and that's done in 4 hours. Now, I appreciate the state, that's what they govern and that's what they do. But again, going back to it, I don't think 4 hours personally is enough for any security professional to undertake to become somebody who's good at de-escalation, somebody who's good at safe restraint, somebody who's good at CPR. You do an online course. How does an online course teach you CPR? Now, here's what sets us aside that's differently to every other organization out there. We are American Red Cross certified. We have American Red Cross instructors. And them instructors will teach a day's training of the majority of categorization of whether that's generalized first aid, whether that's CPR, whether that's stop the bleed, tourniquet application, naloxone, epinephrine, and under that remit, that's what SAPS provides. SAPS provides that to every employee who are trained to physically do CPR. They come to an actual training session which is dedicated to doing CPR, dedicated to application of a tourniquet, dedicated to applying naloxone to an overdosed individual. And that overall sets us aside. And when I was saying earlier on, we go above and beyond with standards, that is going above and beyond with standards, because as a well-versed individual, especially in the medical area and operating in Afghanistan in hostile environments where I've actually had to apply tourniquets to amputations, to doing CPR on my friends, to even CPR on my next door neighbor, you do not learn that on a course. You've got to be able to get your hands on and have an instructor in front of you and be able to tell you, hey, that's a great technique, or that's an absolutely shit technique.
Right. So for our listeners, just real quick, the Dallas Law course, and is this just specifically for Tennessee?
Well, Tennessee has it as a requirement with the state commission, but a lot of states have adopted it
similar
as a standard.
Okay. Yeah. This training segment is designed for all security guard officer classifications, armed, unarmed, or employed by a proprietary security organization that holds a license or permit for on-premises consumption from the Alcoholic Beverage Commission or a beer board, or is employed by a contract security company for the purpose of performing security guard and patrol services at a commercial establishment that holds a license or permit for on-premises consumption from the Alcoholic Beverage Commission or a beer board as defined in Tennessee Code Annotated. This segment examines de-escalation, safe restraint techniques, legal powers and limitations of security guards, officers, first aid, and CPR. So just an idea of what this course is covering there.
And to put that in layman's terms, it's how to deal with drunk people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unruly.
Really, that's what it is.
Bare minimum.
So,
and again, I'm going to be the voice of the non-politically correct person here. We're different in a lot of ways, Lefty. It's not just the training. It's the people we employ. It's our mindset. We had discussed some of the international stuff that we're doing. For the last 2 years, I've been at the UN General Assembly. We're not talking about we just do Broadway security.
Talking about United Nations?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bryan and I were at a dinner 2 years ago with 13 different heads of state. When I say we do things differently, we truly do things differently from the top down. The expectations are higher. Where you want to go within this profession are higher. We're not just looking for people who are looking for some extra money on the side.
Sure.
We are truly employing professionals, and if
the people that hire you aren't looking for that type of individual either, because again, you guys, and from everything that I've studied about you, heard from Bryan and Lee, you're much more than just a cooling service, so to speak. And I want to get into more of that conversation than this, downtown.
Yeah.
Kind of bouncing situation.
You got to see a lot of what we do as far as offerings go when we did our sizzle reel film the other day. That's a bit of a different paradigm of operations than what people are used to seeing from your local security company or stateside security company. But really, what a lot of that had to do with was our training offerings in the international realm. So for international customers that are hiring us strictly to come over and provide not only consulting, but provide boots on the ground training for their personnel, both military, law enforcement, and private sector. In the last few years, we've been working extensively on the island of Haiti, and most specifically trying to reconfigure and reestablish the Haitian army. It's still very much a political football, and we have branched out into numerous other offerings and endeavors on the island, both private and government sector. So, not to mention,
what I want to do is, and I don't want to keep you guys, because we got a lot to talk about, and we want to go over these videos too. So let's go into more detail about these extraordinary services and training that you guys do, because you do offer training services as well, and that's something that I wanted to let our listeners know too.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're doing a lot of stuff overseas, international. Which video do you want me to play first? And then let's go into details about that particular service that you're offering.
Yeah, let's start with our EOD video. So EOD on this video is explosive ordnance detection, not just disposal. You will see that this is a dramatic reenactment of a specific scenario where one of our trainers is coming in and teaching the scenario of how to deal with both detecting a bomb in an operational environment and even in the most acute of situations, actually disarming that bomb. To be frank, if we had actually detected this bomb in a operational environment in the way that looks, we would more than likely have attached an explosive to it and blown it up rather than deal with the actual disarming of it. Yeah. But for the grand drama of this film we were making, we did a full takedown of this device. Yeah. Lee can help with that, but this is both a show of our dog and our explosives expertise.
All right. Let's roll beautiful bean footage.
On top of that, Lev, who else really has an explosive robot?
Well, we're going to get into that. Definitely want to get into that. If you guys, again, you're much higher level.
Alpha 1, this is Charlie 1. Kilo 9 indication. Steer area. Move back, guys. Move back. Ellie! Come on! Good game!
Look at that, baby. Turn down a little bit there. That way we can talk over it.
Alpha 1, Charlie 1. Device detected. Moving into disarm. Alpha 1, Charlie 1.
So, I mean, this isn't training you're going to get from that Dallas course or, your armed guard type thing.
No, absolutely not. I mean, at this point, this is taken up on people's previous military experience and working with that and adapting it to current times. Now, I mean, first time we've got Miss Ellie on the show right here. So Miss Ellie right here is, or should I say so people don't get my accent confused, is Ellie. She's an explosive detection K9. She's capable of detecting all groups of explosives, from firearms, tannerite, to HE, to LE, which is your high explosives, your low explosives, and even your homemade, your HMEs, your homemade explosives. Now, what we're demonstrating here is the ability and the process of essentially what we call a route clearance and moving into an hostile environment, a high threat environment, where with the use of a K9 and the use of an EOD robot, which the robot we're using there is a Talon, is appropriate. Now, is this going to be the case, for example, in the United States? No, because if I have a detection with a K9, I'm going to hand it straight over to LEO. That is what I'm going to do. But what we're showing here is the extent of the understanding and how we as a security company know exactly what is going off, and we understand the job roles of each and every individual involved before, during, and after the events. Now, when we talk about K9s, when we talk about, especially, let's take Ellie's position as an explosive ordnance detection K9, it's an acute job. It's a very niche and technical job, because as a K9 handler, we're not just holding a lead. We're not just taking that lead, taking the dog out, putting a harness on them. There's hours and hours and hours, and I'm talking thousands of hours of training goes into a dog. It's continuous. It is continuous beyond that, and it's continuous for me as a handler and a trainer, to be able to keep that standard there. And one thing that you notice in the video is how keen her interaction with the device was, but she wasn't interacting with it. You know, we see her nose go in, we see her come out, and she sits and indicates, and she doesn't invade that space anymore. And that's a perfect example of how an explosive detection dog should work. She sits off it. If you notice, she's at a distance. She's sat off it, and we see a perfect scenario of a canine operating in a hostile environment, a high threat environment. Now, as Bryan said, you know, this is an acute thing. This is not necessarily the ultimatum of dealing with a device, because the one thing I'm not going to claim to be is an high threat operator. I'm not the guy which typically would cut the wires. I would go down there and I would blow that motherfucker up. It's as simple as that. I blow the road up to pieces. And there is other options as well. But what we're demonstrating here is we're demonstrating as full capabilities as a explosive detection team. And like I said before, on the process of the K9 going out there, detecting the device. Now, unfortunately, you know, a tiny little bit of negativity here, and I've never had this with Ellie or any of my dogs. However, unfortunately, out there is what you call false indications, and dogs do false indicate. And sometimes,
how many times has Ellie false indicated, if you could ballpark it?
In a live operation, 0.
Even in training?
In training, ballpark, maybe 3-4 times.
They're the best.
Let me ask you this. So Will and Lee, I mean, you guys got your training prior to coming to SAPS. You know, you have the experience, the expertise. As you're bringing on new team members, are you training them your skills?
I'll go a step further. We have been asked and tasked with training on a national level.
Sure, and I get that people hire you to go train their team, but as you are getting new SAPS members, are you passing these skills along to them as well?
100%. And furthermore, these guys are constantly going to training themselves. So, you know, the proper canine handler maintains his student status all throughout his career. So Lee and Will, both as our lead canine guys, are constantly going through recurring training themselves, not to mention going and training others. So it's a real process of studentship.
Yeah. And the thing with passing that knowledge on, here's the thing about canine handling. It's, again, like I said, it's no easy task. It's no pick a dog lead up and it's a pet. It's a constant 7 days a week, 24/7 commitment. And when we start implicating training, when we start implicating how we respond to things, it becomes a lot more specialized. Now, passing that training on is absolutely necessary to some people. And for me, to pass my experiences and pass my training on and train individuals, absolutely, I'm all day long open to that. And we do train across, sure. You know, we train that. Now, here's the thing to consider though. Not everybody's capable of handling a dog. And it's just like, let's take a firearm, for example. Not everybody's capable of handling a firearm. It's the same sort of principles and fundamentals that we have to understand. And when I say it's a niche job, I'm not saying it's not able to be, you know, people can't get into
trainable. You can train somebody, but not everybody takes to it. I get that. Yeah.
It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort that goes on behind the scenes, that goes on, you know, away from work. And
the same goes for the K9s themselves. And you've got Lily and Titan. Ellie and Titan. Is that right, Titan?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And things happen. I mean, injuries, whatnot. Do you have backup K9s that you are training, or is that because I know there are companies that specifically train K9s for these type things? Is that something that if something happened to one of your K9s that you would go outsource that, or do you have
Marty? So one of the things we do is we have over the years we have created a real network of trusted K9 vendors throughout the country. I started using K9s. I started using K9s on the Dolly tour when people did not use K9s for explosive detection on a music tour. That was something that was kind of looked at as a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
And we started doing her world tours, and we knew that there was a different kind of threat level with a star of her level. And it was very apparent that K9s needed to be integrated into that. And Lee was the first individual K9 handler that I ever used on a Dolly tour. But with that, I had to come back to America and install the exact same tasking for that tour. And so I spent, many years traveling across the country providing that service to that tour. And with that, we created a real network of individuals that can do that kind of thing. We've got partner vendors all over the country, and some some really work very closely with us. So there is never a time that we can't have a dog wherever it needs to be, even if we lose a dog.
I'll go a step further, Marty. That's not just that isn't just in the country. That's internationally. There's a reason that right now we are working with 5 or 6 different international clients, governments on providing these type services.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you guys definitely have the expertise. And let's talk about the next area. At least that videos cover, because I know
just before you move on to that, because I think it's important, and it's important for listeners to hear. And your question is a great question. What happens if one of our dogs go down?
Yeah.
Now, this is why we work in tandem. This is why we have dual teams go out with multiple K9s. Now, the trick is understanding that there's K9 companies out there, and there's security companies out there which will endorse a handler to handle a dog they have not bonded with. And this is such an important subject that is negated a lot of the time, because you don't get the effectiveness out of the K9 that you desire. Now, Will, tell me what bond means. Tell me what it means as a K9 guy.
So everybody likes to look at K9 world, especially if they've never worked in it. They like to look at it as it's a piece of equipment. The fact is it's a sentient being, right? It's a living, breathing, has feelings, it has attitude, it has all the above, and so do we. We're no different when it comes to those things. So the stronger the bond, the stronger the team. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you can take a dog and you can pay these companies that just keep them in a kennel and take them out and work them and do these things. But specifically in our environment, we're around hundreds and thousands of people sometimes. You have to have a dog who you're comfortable with in those scenarios to mitigate the liability of things. Now, the stronger the bond, the stronger the team, the stronger the performance. It all kind of comes hand in hand. So it's important to build those together. A big thing that Lee and I both agreed upon was our dogs needed to be able to be in the same room together and get along. And because there's times where we're working in rooms right next to each other. And then big venues, for instance, the Ryman Auditorium. That's a big venue to clear for one dog. So what we'll do is we'll have it up. And if our dogs meet in the middle, cool. It's not a big issue. The other thing
you guys ever have the occasion to work with police K9 units?
Every show.
I've trained police dogs. And I actually still to this day get calls from police canine handlers who need guidance because what they're doing is not working. Because there's a lot of companies out there that will just sell you a dog. Yeah. And what people don't understand is they're going to sell you a dog all day long, but it's an ongoing process. And if you don't maintain that ongoing process and that connection and that bond and that work environment, that stuff fades. It's a perishable skill, and you have to sharpen that blade or it's not going to be as effective. And it's in this world, in the private sector, it's more crucial to be able to sharpen that blade than it is in the police world. And what I mean by that is in the police world, it's a controlled environment. You get to choose when and how your dog's deployed. For us, we're around different people all the time, different venues, different locations, different atmospheres. And we have to implement that into all of our training. And it takes a little bit of finances, but in turn, we get to produce a superior product. And because of that, that's what separates us from everybody else around.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
what we're saying, and, just to kind of highlight this is, I'm not going to mention the client, but when a client turns around and says to you, you are better than the local law enforcement that we use, that's
a lot. Yeah, that's a big endorsement.
That says everything right there.
That's a big endorsement right there. Yeah.
That says everything right there. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and go that's for the for the whole. I'm not saying that for the reason of the podcast. I'm saying it because that was a true statement witnessed by several people that we was told we were better than any law enforcement agency they have used in any state. Any state.
That's a huge endorsement.
Lee's not going to toot his own horn here, but we produced our report and our evaluation of the venue and the risk assessment, and they looked at us and said, "This is way more than we've ever gotten before."
Sure.
And we said this should be standard. Like
I will touch on that. We integrate K9 into what we do. It's not a standalone service. It is something that's integrated into the very beginnings of how we go into a venue. We look at the overall. K9 is one part of that, but just as the videos that you have there, Lefty, we do so much more. And
let's talk about it. So, Lefty, let's talk about our designated marksman capabilities, our sniper video. Andy can help on this. Andy on this chat is our resident USMC scout sniper. And we had Danny Emerson, CEO of Warhorse Ballistics, one of our trainer partners, as our sniper choreographer and lead on this. And I'll tell you now, I threw this on him at the last second and said, "Hey, let's do a ghillie suit scenario and let's bust this out real fast." And the production team came in with a 200-yard bullet camera on a zip line that was 360 degrees. I played the bad guy. We have Danny Emerson and Brent from Warhorse as the sniper and spotter, and this is an offering in that from SAPS, in that we have the capability to do things like do Overwatch on a protection detail. We saw an executive protection failure with the attempted assassination of President Trump with a sniper recently, and having a company that can come in and actually have some sense, some on the ground sense of what to actually look for and what to actually be on guard for is essential. And we are the only security company in the state of Tennessee that provides this kind of service, a designated marksman or a protective overwatch kind of service. And this is also something that we can come in with highly trained personnel and provide this training for any international government, law enforcement, etc. So,
sure. And I get the international aspect of this, and but give me an example stateside to where this service might come in handy, or somebody would need this.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly. I'll tell you exactly how.
Okay.
So when you have a politician that's in the midst of a campaign, that politician typically does not have government provided security, even if they are an incumbent. Sometimes they just don't have the capability provided by the government for their security, and so that doesn't mean that the threat of a sniper is gone from that person. So having a team that can sit on a rooftop, that can be in the rafters of a large venue, that can be on a hilltop or a water tower in the midst of a campaign speech, that's really what this is about. It's not necessarily about having a guy behind the gun. It's about having a guy behind the glass. And that's really what we provide on a stateside level. And we have done that for everybody from celebrities to politicians to high net worth individuals, where we have actually qualified designated marksmen, qualified snipers that work on those details and bring that eye to that protective service.
And so talk about how you work hand in hand with local law enforcement with these type of events.
So when you have an event, say the CMA Awards or the Grammys or the Oscars, these are or the Super Bowl for that matter, and we've worked at all of those. If when you're working in those environments, these are homeland security events, and they have everybody from the local constables to the local sheriff's department, the city police, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Secret Service, the Capitol Police. Everybody has a contingent in that building that day, as well as private sector. And there's a lot of different chiefs and a lot of Indians, so to speak. It's it can be a really precarious show for any private sector entity to come in and walk into that environment and do it correctly. And you can find yourself in working as a subcontractor for the government on those, or you can find yourself working for a specific client that's attending those shows. Right. And that's primarily where you're going to see that kind of thing, or a large concert where you've got an uncleared area that may be an outdoor festival or something like that, and you've got a very noteworthy celebrity that's going to attend that stage. You've got to get a guy that can look at that crowd, that can look at that tree line, and make sure that there is not a threat, hiding in that environment. That requires a guy on the glass.
You brought up the attempted assassination on Trump, and there seemed to be a lot of miscommunication between local law enforcement, the Secret Service. How do you guys communicate again? And do you meet resistance from the local, law enforcement authorities that you're working with? How are you treated by them?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I'll head this off right now before Golden does. It really just depends on the entity. It depends on the government entity.
Sure.
You know, the more the better police culture that agency has, typically the better reception you'll get from them. So when you're dealing with agencies like NYPD or Metro Nashville PD or the Tennessee Highway Patrol or Los Angeles Police Department for that matter, or the California Highway Patrol, you tend to get really good reception and liaison from those agencies. But when you're dealing with, you know, your uh, it can be, sometimes the small departments are great to work with. Sometimes they have a chief or an assistant chief or an assistant, under sheriff that wants to flex on the private sector folks and doesn't want to extend any kind of professional courtesy. That does happen, and it's it sucks, but that's part of the thing you deal with. In my experience, when you're dealing with a larger, more cultured entity, they tend to receive you much better, and I have good relationships with all those that I mentioned.
Well, it's like you said too. You know, there's a bunch of chiefs, you know, in the room. You got a bunch of alpha people from different departments, different agencies, and everybody's got a different idea on how the situation should be set up or handled. And I can imagine, you know, again, the diplomacy that you have to bring to that.
That's right.
You'd probably be very frustrating. And Pink, you know, you being a sniper, you know,
and then that's one thing, that's a good thing to touch on. You know, it's, you know, the sniper community in and of itself there's a lot of well, I know what I want to say, but I'm not sure if I can say it on the podcast. But a lot of ego battling between, you know, who's got the best resume, who's done what, especially after, you know.
You were going to say swinging dicks, weren't you?
I was going to say there's a lot of dick measuring contests going on in the sniper community, and you know, it's important just to, you know, to stay focused on the mission. I mean, especially, you know, it happens to me a lot. You know, people, you know, the way that I get introduced, you know, colloquially or generally, you know, is that, you know, Marine Corps Scout Sniper. But it's, you know, it's important to you know, annotate that, you know, I'm just a nasty reservist. You know, I wasn't in 3.6. I wasn't in one of those high power units. I came out of 323 HES company's Scout Sniper platoon. Out of New Orleans, staking up at NAS Bell Chase down there.
Trio, wasn't it?
That's a different one, but various. But you know, for the most part, you know, there's a definite hierarchy, perceived hierarchy in the community. You know, obviously, you know, when you're going to meet someone from an Army background, we're going to jab at each other a little bit here and there. But even within the Marine Corps Scout Sniper program itself, you know, we're differentiated between hogs and pigs, hunters of gunmen, and professionally instructed gunmen. I am of the latter. I am a pig, professionally instructed gunman. I got into I was in the line company, just doing your basic 0311 rifleman stuff, and I knew that we had a deployment coming up to Al Anbar, and I remember them all getting everybody online and saying, "Hey, put your hand up in the air. All right, put it down if you can't shoot for shit." And half of them come down, and you know, put your hand down if you can't run a 300 PFT, a perfect score on the physical fitness test. More hands go down. You know, put your hands down if you can't swim. If you don't have the appropriate swim qual, you know, don't try. And I remember out of Lima Company, based out of there in Montgomery, there were about 30 of us still had our hands up, and they just said, "Go get on the bus. You're going to go take the sniper in, Doc." I didn't even realize our unit even had a sniper platoon at the time. And but that was a really fun 3-day surprise of going through that sniper in, Doc, and whittling it down. I believe we started out with 117 candidates for that course, and at the end of the weekend, into the 4-day weekend, there were only 5 of us standing, and out of those 5 standing, only 3 got selected to the platoon. Out of that platoon, we started fresh on that training, and you know, everybody's immediate reaction to sniper training is obviously going to gravitate towards the gun. But as Bryan was saying earlier, so much of what it means to actually be an operational scout sniper is not so much the trigger pulling as it is the the planning process is hammered into you all throughout your sniper career. Being meticulous in your planning, in your preparation for the mission, and then being out there, like you said, vast majority of your time behind the glass is going to be just that, you behind the glass, recognizing patterns, collecting information, collecting data, and being able to process, especially when you get with large crowds or big events where lots of things are going on left and right. Your ability to process massive amounts of information and pick out the things that are wrong with it, and make sure you don't get distracted by the things that may be out of place but have nothing to do with what you're looking for. So when we do these things, for big events, the Overwatch aspect is very key. Not to get stuck in on just your client, not to get stuck in on whatever's going on over there. You've got to stick to the plan. And what we saw with the attempted Trump assassination was a failure, not so much on the day of the event, but rather everything leading up to it. And looking back at it, I mean, everyone likes to say hindsight's 20/20. But when you look at, the after action reports of these and of that situation, especially, the aerial footage and the layout of the farm that the event was held at, it makes you ask yourself, like, how in the world could you have possibly gotten so much wrong ahead of time to leave such a fundamental gap in the security of inarguably, in my opinion, the most important person on the planet.
Andy, speaking of analyzing things that are wrong, let's watch our sniper video and you narrate it for us and talk about some of the things.
Stand by. Let me pull it back up.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna hit Danny too hard on this. He is an Army guy, so
it's more me as the bad guy I was looking at.
The tracksuit you nailed it.
Hey,
the Adidas suit.
Yeah, my Slav look is on point, I think.
Yeah, that Adidas suit is very behind enemy lines.
Well, don't call it a costume. He goes to Chili's like that as well.
Yeah, we got snow going on here in Tennessee, so he probably was wearing that hat today.
Yeah. So my gun in this, the bad guy gun in this, is a VZ61 32 ACP Scorpion, Czechoslovakian Scorpion, the Czech Kita banana.
I love it. I guess I could let me turn the volume back up on this and play it. So I'll turn it down low, and then you guys just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Target in open. 43. Copy target.
Starting off right there, that's one of the big things that a lot of people don't understand, that, and it actually almost ties back to, what Will and Lee were talking about with a bond between the K9 and its handler. Right. Snipers always operate in teams. This isn't LA. This isn't, Hollywood, where you're going to go out and just be a sniper by yourself. So much of your time in the sniper community is going to be spent with your spotter or with your shooter, developing that communication skill set, because not only are you talking to him, you're also on the radio as well, a whole lot, and it's a lot to keep up with, especially in a high pressure situation. And I guess the best way that I could equate that to a real life scenario for most people who haven't had that sort of professional experience is a lot of deer hunters get it. Everybody's heard of buck fever. That first time that you bead down on that 10 point buck and get ready to pull the trigger, it's not always good. Your hand's not always going to be looking like this. Sometimes it gets a little bit shaky. You start forgetting the things that should be drilled into your head. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've seen it in combat operations. I've seen it from school, our sniper school graduates. It happens. It's something that definitely has to be ingrained into who you are as a person. And it evolves from your training, and it evolves from your bond with the rest of the guys that you train with.
I might add, Lefty.
Yeah.
Danny Emerson, the guy on the gun in the video, is, I already mentioned, he's the CEO of Warhorse Ballistics. Warhorse conducts all of our in-house security training. So Danny Emerson is also a pistolero. He's a Modern Samurai instructor. He actually went to the Modern Samurai instructor course with me at Brentwood Police Department, and I believe he has a podcast coming up with you soon.
That's right. We are in talks. We're gonna schedule to have him and Brent. Is that right?
Yeah, Brent.
Yeah,
Brent.
We're gonna try to get both those fellas on. But I gotta compliment the bad guy acting here. I mean, you nailed the headshot.
Hey man. So I had Ollie.
How many days he complained about getting hurt over that?
I'm going to give all that credit to
Ollie. I'm getting old. I didn't want to break a hip.
No, I mean, it's like you almost hit your head on the tailgate right there.
I did.
That's all Ollie.
Yeah, Ollie being the stuntman he is, was standing over me, giving me the bang to fall warning. And he was telling me, mate, if you don't have whiplash, you haven't snapped your neck back good enough. Whip it harder, mate. Are you going to be a stuntman, mate?
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. But that's a terrible Southern accent. That was more of a Northern accent like mine. You need to sound a bit more like a fairy when you're going to do that accent. All right.
Yeah. Also in this scene, I got to point it out. In the back of the truck is filled with our sponsors, First Tactical. They provide some kit and gear for this shoot as well. So big thanks to the gang there at Mission First Tactical for that.
Yeah. So I was guarding an arms cache of MFT stuff.
I'm trying to find a good shot of the back of the truck here. There it is. Right.
And I've actually been running the MFT outside the Ulster, the Secret Service Ulster.
What do you think?
I think it's great. I think the retention on it's much better than most Ulsters that I've had. You know,
it's consistent.
I like We the People Ulsters. I do like them. But as far as holsters go, the retention on that is great for especially in the role that I do, the capacity that I do, it's much more retainable. It's good stuff.
Lefty also provided us some belly band holsters that are deep concealment holsters that our team will be using overseas. When we're working overseas, we cannot scare the horses when it comes to carrying firearms. So those deep concealment belly bands are actually going to come in really handy.
I'm interested to see how your team likes those. So
it was really cool gear, and thank you so much for all the gear.
Again, it's our sponsors there at Mission First Tactical. Big thanks to Dave and Ryan there for doing it. Short notice too. I mean, they got it here quick. So
on that note, let's watch our CQB video.
Yeah, let's get into that. So as I'm getting the video ready here, talk about it.
Yeah, the CQB video. So this scenario, we're doing an extraction of a high value target, so to speak. So this is both a K9 scenario, a breaching scenario, and a CQB scenario. The challenge was put out to our guys. We want a CQB scenario in a warehouse. What would that look like? How would y'all do it? And frankly, we pulled up with less than 20 minutes on target, looked at the location, and started building what this is going to look like. I might add, almost everybody in the video is a combat veteran. We've got guys that are Army snipers and Army designated marksmen. We've got myself. We've got Lee. We've got our friend Boo in there. Bunch of guys doing work in this environment. Plus, we have Titan and Will Hammond doing a bite suit attack on Lee, a bite suit takedown on Lee wearing the full bite suit, and Titan got him a bite that day, and he was super happy.
Yeah, super happy. I would absolutely love, Will, as Titan's doing that. I mean, let's go through the process, but as Titan's going through the bite, let's talk about what he's thinking.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me play the video and then we'll break it down. So here's the video. Right.
That's my youngest son being taken down as the terrorist and head bagged.
And Lefty, I'm going to put you on the spot right here.
Okay.
You're very connected. You've seen a lot of different security companies. You've seen a lot of different things. And for some reason today, I'm the least politically correct out of our guys. Is this shit you see normally?
It just depends on where I'm at, what I'm doing. But from one company that offers all this, no, I don't think I've ever been associated or know to the extent and level that you guys are offering these services, like with the bomb detection, K9 services, the internet security, doing it domestically and internationally. No, I haven't had the privilege to be around anybody. I don't know anybody else that's doing that.
I only asked that. I mean, it was a loaded question. I knew the answer to it. Because I am going to be the least politically correct guy here.
It's not easy to go in and do an ad hoc CQB scenario and have a production team film you doing it and get it right and make it look right. That CQB is a perishable skill, and it takes a lot of work for a team to really get that done. And it's a testament to our guys that we work so well together that we can go into a warehouse and let a film team chase us around and make that look the way it's supposed to look.
But you did it unrehearsed also, and for the most part, you guys were one take mofos. It's like one and done.
Here's the thing you don't understand, Lefty, is I am usually the politically correct one. That I'm trying to throttle Bryan back a little bit, but
hey, release the hounds, man. There's no inhibitions on this show. So,
well, talking about release the hounds, Hammond Will right here has got a beautiful dog, Titan, and this part of the CQB is actually quite a prominent part that a lot of people forget about. That you can use K9, and I'm sorry, I'm the K9 guy. I love K9s. I love promoting this stuff, and I'm going to just keep on promoting. But for me, these dogs are so special in what we do, especially Titan, especially Ellie. And, in what we're seeing right now, it's a case of this is discipline. What we're seeing through these videos here, what we're talking about earlier on with training and what Bryan mentioned about discipline and being a special sort of individual, what we're seeing here in these videos is a constant view of discipline, of self-discipline. And that is apparent throughout all these images, from what we do from CQB to EOD to escort to course protection. Everything includes the ability to be self-disciplined and have that level right there. Now,
back on you, Lee.
When we start with the CQB, and that video right there it's a great MOE. You know, we go through the MOE process, method of entry process. We use a crowbar. Sorry, not that scene, but the original scene itself from the beginning. We go with the MOE, and the initial thing through the door is the K9, because that's the tool. Like, you know, we view them as people, view them as tools. You know, companies view them as tools, but as partners, are the first ones to go through the door. And
yes. But Lee,
that dog is the first one through the door.
Can I piggyback on you first?
Absolutely.
So a lot of what this video doesn't show is the fact that Titan's part of the team, and so is Ellie. So in between, and you got to see this while you were there, Titan just gets to hang out with everybody. The fact that he got a bite that day was, you know, phenomenal for him. That's better than sex in their world.
Well, what did you say to me when we finished? You know, he got to hang with Ellie and got to have a bite. What was it? He got to fight and fuck on the same day?
Yeah, I say.
and Ellie went into heat the next day.
Next day.
No, are you serious?
So it's amazing how that works.
Yeah.
So you get to see both sides of it, right? But the ideal here is we can take them and put them in these environments, but on a regular daily basis, we're around hundreds of people, and they know how to act and they know how to behave in different scenarios. So, like for instance, Titan's taught to trigger on people who are showing violence or being combative in some way, and I point him in the right direction, and he knows if somebody's acting that way, he knows how to target that individual in a group of people that are scared or are not reacting in the same way. He knows that is not right. That is out of the ordinary. And that is my target. And he knows he's going to put that person, he's going to go bite them and apprehend them. And he's going to put them in a position to protect everybody else around them. And that is something that we start from day one with our dogs. We focus that into them. And a lot of people say it's a switch. Well, it is in their head, it's a switch. But for us, it's something we have to be cognizant of and focus on in the environment we're in. And so Titan, for instance, in this video, this is something not everybody gets to see all the time. This is a whole other side of Titan. And I'm sure everybody that's on this podcast right now can contest to, they haven't seen Titan bite anybody like that before. And he's been in crowds of, you know, thousands of people at a time. And he's a happy-go-lucky guy. He's there to have fun. He's whatever you need, guys. I'm here for you. He's part of the team. Is what I'm elaborating.
And that's the thing when it comes down to that. We talk about as K9 or as any job. Let's not just K9. Let's put K9 to one side for one second. But any job role, the mentality has to be level-headed. We have to be on this level right here and not be willing to meet this guy up here unless absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And again, you know, touching back on base with what I do and what we'll do is the K9s are the same. Dogs are the same. Dogs will not meet anybody if they are here. If they are up here, the dogs will meet them. And they'll meet them with, extreme violence, you know, much more than anybody else can imagine. And the fact is that this whole scenario that we're viewing right now, you know, I'm just purely talking, and Will's purely talking about, you know, Titan and his role, is that he can be in a crowd of 1,000 people, 500 people. You don't even have to put a number on it, but these dogs can operate due to the training, due to the bond, due to the.
I mean, otherwise you can't use them. If you can't control them, you can't use them. So it just makes
That's
sense.
right. And listen, I'm the biggest
these type of environments. Yeah.
You know, I'm the biggest critique of the dogs. And Lee will tell you this. When the dogs came to the table the first time, I was very reluctant to put a set of attack dogs and a bomb detection dog around my client. You know, I looked at it as a liability right off the bat, and mainly because I had just come back from Iraq working as a guard force supervisor where we had K9s, and I saw K9s do a lot of damage to folks. I know what K9s can do. You know, when either they're on point or when they're used incorrectly. And so, you know, I was very reluctant off the bat, and Lee and furthermore Will now have really shined on that front, and I have the greatest of faith and the greatest of trust in these guys and their dogs. You know, it's phenomenal to have that kind of tool in your back pocket.
And my listeners know that I'm a huge K9 lover. I love K9s, and you know we could do a whole show just on. And I've done just K9s. But I want to get into some of the other tools. Well, I want to get into some of the other tools that you guys were using during that CQB.
Yeah, let's talk
about some tools of the trade as we're going through these videos also. So you guys had flashbangs in there.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned you had a crowbar.
So flashbangs and pyrotechnics for these training events. That's something that I've been using for gosh, you know, since right after 9/11, I was on a contract with my former company, Phoenix Consulting Group, where we were providing hostile environment survival training for the three-letter agencies, the non-government organization, or excuse me, the non-official cover operatives for the OGAs, for the other government agencies. And the ability to have certain types of pyrotechnics that you can use in a training environment really add to the drama and the effect of what a field training exercise is supposed to look like and what the student expects it to look like. You know, you really want to add some excitement to it, but you've got to be able to do it safely. And you know, we have figured out ways to use certain types of devices, things that are legal, civilian legal, things that we can implement safely inside of a building that we may be borrowing. You know, I can't just scorch the carpet on the place when we go in and do it. Right, I can't just blow the door hinges off. As a matter of fact, there's a scene in the CQB video that we deleted because it was just kind of problematic and looked kind of stunted, where we use a blank 12 gauge round on a door, and it just didn't look right. But you know, in real life, we would be using actual breaching rounds for that kind of thing. You know, so you've always got that hanging over your head when you're filming that kind of stuff. You've got to make it look right, despite what the gear may actually be.
Sure. And I want people to keep in mind that the videos that they are watching now, these are promotional videos. This is to promote, to give people an idea for their potential future clients, you know, the services that they offer. Now, you can go through here and you can critique and pick them apart all you want. But I mean, that's the reality of it. This isn't, you know, real world, you know, actual scenes that it's a promotional. They're promotional.
Yeah, this is a sizzle reel. We had some cool guns on that project. We had our new. We bought a series of Heckler & Koch SP5Ks pistols for the company, and these are our basically our submachine gun platform. These are 9mm binary triggers. These are real HEK guns, and they have the binary setup on them. And we use these both in an executive protection role and in any kind of tactical role we may have as a security company. This is a 9mm, so this is something, a 9mm pistol. So this is something that can go on our guard card as an armed guard in the state of Tennessee, as a pistol caliber carbine, as a pistol, a 9mm pistol. So
because
this is
pistol braces are legal again.
Pistol braces are legal again, and this is an A3 tactical brace. This is a brace, not a stock, folding, and it works really good in a under the jacket kind of platform. Using it in a VIP protection role, it's a really good platform, and I can't say enough about the A3 tactical brace. It is phenomenal. Go check them out; they're really cool.
I want to back up a minute because you said you got the binary trigger in there.
Yeah. So if you're gonna have a 9mm PCC, it needs to have the bullet hose function. I mean, that's really what we're talking about in extreme use of these kind of weapons, is having that full auto capability. H&K Parts makes the lower for this, which is a SEF lower. It's the original German style lower. This is an actual AK lower, but it's got the Franklin Armory binary bits pre-installed in it. So when you get it, it comes straight from H&K Parts with all the trigger installed in the lower. And it works really well. I mean, this thing is so damn fast. It runs like a scalded dog. I also was running this gun. So this is a Brownells AR-180 with the GBRS Hydra mount, 6-hour optic, and a PEC 14 on there. Yankee Hill Longboy suppressor. It's they're much quieter. This is a 300 black gun with a 308 suppressor, and this thing's quiet. I mean, really, really quiet. Mod light on there, and it's this is a shooter. This is a really good gun. That's what I was running with a PVS 14 monocular. I only have one eye, so I'm kind of faking the funk in there as a CQB guy, and having dual nods doesn't work on me because I'm a Cyclops.
Here's the part that Lefty, I don't even know if they've touched on, but Bryan talks about those things, and that's what we're doing stateside. But I mean, hell, we have access to MiG-21s.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need it, we can provide it.
Oh yeah, we can get you a grad rocket system if you need it. I'm going to need an end user certificate and a big check, but yeah, I can call one of our guys and make that happen. Yeah, we have the ability to nail any of that stuff down and do. We started that whole process on the arms acquisition and distribution when the Ukraine war started, and we worked in that whole realm for a good year before we realized how unmanageable it was. But
time to stop right there, B.
Well, I might add we retained our capability as far as sourcing on that front. So
correct.
Now, when we had you on, like the original, the very first time we were talking about the Tennessee Rangers, you had a special gun.
Yeah. So
you guys
that's the SAPS pistol, special application pistol, and so we created that. Nashville Plow Works, which is one of our partner vendors. Also, the owner is a Tennessee Ranger. Nashville Plow Works is a FFL. They provide everything from gear and equipment to fully built firearms, serialized products like suppressors, mounts, all kinds of stuff. And they built that pistol, both of those pistols for us. And it's a 43X with everything you can imagine doing to a pistol. It's got it done to it. I could go on and on and on with it,
Is
but
this
it's
what you guys are carrying when you're concealing low profile type
you know,
stuff?
I carry a 43X when it's summertime and I have to really conceal. But frankly, I don't like carrying a 43X. I like running a Model 19. You know, the Glock 19 is really the smallest platform I want to go to when I'm trying to really shoot things.
Unless you add a big giant Gobi streamlight on it, like Lee did there.
Yeah. The 43X is a great pistol, but you know, the smaller you get, the snappier you get, the harder it is to get on follow-up shots. They feel great on your hip, or you know, in your appendix carry or vasectomy carry or however you carry it. But you know, frankly, if I've got to pull a pistol out and get in a fight, I would rather have a Glock 19 in that job.
Sure.
I think most of us are running 19s when it's concealed. And I personally love my shadow systems when it's not.
Yeah, I run a shadow on my duty belt. If I'm wearing a full duty belt, battle belt, gunfighter belt, what have you, I run a full size comped shadow systems. You know, or I run a Model 34 Glock with all the accoutrements.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about
let's show our training video and highlight Danny Amerson and Warhorse.
Let's go escort first.
Okay. Let's go escort first. Okay. Escort. Let's run the video.
615-912-665.
What?
For an escort.
Oh.
So that's a drone shot.
Which we also do.
Yeah, we also do drones.
Yeah, we haven't even on that.
Thermal drones, etc. We also have a car service.
Uber?
SAPS Goon.
Is there an app for that?
Well, there will be. We're actually working on the app right now. It's called the Goon app. Goon? Yeah, Goon. Goon. That's a proprietary acronym, soon to be released. But
sounds like something Lee came up with.
Say again?
Sounds like something Lee came up with.
It does. Yeah, it does. I mean,
no, Lee's not that smart.
It does. It kind of sounds.
It sounds
Yorkshire.
British.
Sounds a little bit Yorkshire. The you know, this is basically a rundown, a quick glimpse of what an executive protection detail looks like, and that can be for a high net worth individual, an entertainer. It could be for somebody that needs to go to court. You know, in the last few years, I've done quite a few witness protection jobs where we've gone in and provided security for folks that are not high net worth individuals, but rather just somebody that has found themselves in a bad situation or saw something that they would rather have not have seen, and we have to escort them to court. And you know, that can be a very volatile and weird situation. It can be a potentially violent situation. So, you know, the escort thing is a big part of what we do.
Are you doing any let's see, prisoner transfers or any like high?
No, as a matter of fact, I used to do a lot of that kind of work back in the day. I did a fair amount of fugitive investigations in the private sector, both court services, service of process, and prisoner transport, contract service of prisoner transport. And we're frankly right now, SAPS just doesn't have the need to do that right now.
The bandwidth.
It's not bandwidth. It's more just wanting need. Dealing with prisoners sucks, and messing around prisons sucks. Lee worked in the prison system for many years, and there's a reason he's here in Nashville, not working in the prison system.
It sucks.
It sucks.
It sucks that soul out of you, and it makes you a dark individual. That's why I'm such a cunt sometimes, but it's what it
is that why?
For fugitive.
Sometimes it might be about the aluminium box shops.
I don't think anybody understood what you said anyway. So, with your escort service, the vehicles that do you have armored vehicles that you guys can supply?
Yep. As a matter of fact, we have just partnered with a new investor on acquisition of a whole slew of armored vehicles. If anybody from Jelly Roll to Sierra Carpenter needs a armored vehicle in Nashville, we can get it for them. If they want to take it to Haiti or anywhere in Africa, we can do that too. So
I can't imagine anybody want to take a shot at Jelly Roll. He's a national treasure. Come on.
Hey man, Jelly Roll's from Antioch. He's from my hometown. Everybody wants to take a shot at you when you're from Antioch.
Enough, B.
Too far. So
too far.
Marty, I think on the first podcast I was on with you, I mentioned that I wanted a tank, and we actually have a tank now. We have a 6-wheel Alvis Saracen armored personnel carrier. It has a Rolls-Royce engine in it. It carries about 14 personnel in it. Has a gun turret. Has a full.
The ultimate armored.
It is the ultimate. It's served with the 22nd Special Air Service in Northern Ireland, and then it served with Lee's engineer unit that he served with in Afghanistan, but served in Ireland also.
No shit.
Yeah, and we bought it out of Illinois and had it transported here on one of our trucks, and it's now sitting in Franklin. Many people see it driving on their daily commute, sitting out in front of one of our Rangers' homes. It sits right there in his front yard.
In his front yard. He's got a lawn.
If you want to go downtown for your bridal party in a tank, I'll fire it up and we'll take you.
Are they still allowing those truck thingies that they were having issues over?
Man, they have all kinds of stuff still downtown.
They are.
Pedal carts, tractors, one with a jacuzzi in the back.
Falling off the back of them drunk.
Yep.
No, not in Nashville.
We're the only ones that can provide you a fucking tank.
There you go. The ultimate experience. Definitely.
We're actually...
You'll enjoy the interior of the Yukon, armored Yukon, a lot more than the interior of the tank.
Having said that, I might add, we're actually working with Bryan Motorsports out in Hendersonville to customize the tank and make it very plush and cush inside. So that's one of our.
I know a company. They're in Poland, but they specialize in refurbing and tricking out.
Well, ours is nice. It's just it's in soldier format. But I think what we're going to do with it is we're going to put flat screens on the inside of it. We're going to cush up the seats. We're going to add some multimedia inside, some lighting and that kind of thing.
It's going to be a party, Marty.
Well, we got to do a video when you get that ready.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
It's also going to be made so it's not for a 2'5" Englishman. You know what I mean? Something bigger.
We're also going to put a new pilot seat in it. So somebody that's that's not a hobbit can actually drive this thing.
So for our listeners, I forgot to do this earlier, but SAPS has an Instagram page too. And you guys can go to their Instagram page, and they've got some pictures and videos and things posted up there. Is the tank on there?
No, the tank is on the Tennessee Rangers, though. I believe it's on our Tennessee Ranger Instagram.
Okay.
I think there's a video of us driving it through Franklin.
It'll be
Town Square.
Interested. Instagram is SAPS_LLC. And you guys can go there, follow them. I suppose you're going to post some of these videos, teasers.
Yep, they're all going up now that we've had this podcast with you.
Okay, that's great. Now we've got one more video.
Yeah, the training video.
Because you guys do offer, that's one of your big things you offer is the training services. So
this video is actually a video of Lee and I adding these H&K SP5Ks or MP5Ks to our guard cards. That's what you're seeing here is us adding these new guns to our cards.
All right, let's roll that main footage. Turn the volume up here.
Again, Marty, not to overspeak here, but we are offering this within the U.S., but we're currently working with 5 or 6 different international clients on offering this to their top tier international, their top tier guard force, the guys who are offering PSD services to presidents and ministers. I will say I am certain that we are doing things that other people are not.
Well, let me ask you this. So as far as in the United States, the training, the level of training that you are offering, who can take your courses? Who are you offering them to?
In anything from a soccer mom to the highest level guys out there, government entities or private citizens, either one.
Okay. So elaborate a little bit more on that as far as the different. So in the state of Tennessee, there is a license that you have to have in order to be in the protection services industry. Talk about that license. And I think you guys, Bryan, we talked about this. You offer courses for that.
Yeah. So anybody that hires on with us does their training internally with us, and that includes their armed guard training. We don't outsource our armed guard training, at least in that we utilize Warhorse Ballistics, which is staffed by Tennessee Rangers and SAPS personnel, and they are a wonderful partner for us. But they train everybody. They train everybody, like you said, from soccer moms to jilted housewives. Anybody can get in there and get behind the pistol at Warhorse. The training that we can provide. One of the things that I think a lot of folks need to understand about what we do is we provide a much more theatric and dramatic training experience than you're going to get anywhere else. I grew up in my career, in my former life, providing training to, three-letter agencies that needed very cutting-edge training programs right after 9/11. So they were trying to fulfill contracts that were based on primarily the intelligence community, but everything has to have a very realistic feel. And we have a really good grasp of how to make things feel realistic. We have a hostile environment survival program where we put people through an experience of what it's like to be in a foreign country, what it's like to be captured by hostile forces, what it's like to be interrogated. That's a big part of what we do. We do that, regularly with the Tennessee Rangers. We have our NDOC program that every Tennessee Ranger goes through, and we have perfected the craft of the field training exercise. It's really sharp, really fun, really intriguing as a student, and it really delivers an experience that nobody's really expecting. With everything from, like I said, from the pyrotechnics to the experience of being captured. We have the designated marksman course where we teach anybody that wants to come and learn how to work behind a scoped rifle. It's actually one of the courses that gets a lot of traffic with us. Guys really like to do that program. They want to get their scoped rifle out, their AR-15, their AR-10, what have you, and learn how to shoot it at distance and learn how to do it in a fighting paradigm, not just a competition or target shooting paradigm, but from a fighting paradigm. We have a fighting pistol program. We have a strategic analysis program where we teach people actually how to do community intelligence gathering, how to gather intelligence on their own neighborhood, on their own city, on their own community where they live, so they can build a threat response for their family. And we can tailor that, and we do tailor it primarily for government services, corporate entities that need the ability to really look at some data, some open source stuff, and make decisions from that.
That's an important thing that you guys are teaching there, especially if you're offering it to the public, the general public, is to know who your neighbors are. You need to know who you're living around and what the environment is like in your subdivision, not just your sub, but your town.
Another thing we teach is church security. So we go into churches, schools for that matter, private schools, public schools, what have you, and we will build you a security protocol in grand form. And we've got a wonderful team on that front.
Very good. Let's do this. I want to get into our listener questions. I don't want to skip those. So as I'm getting into this, we maybe pick up on maybe some of the stuff that we want to continue talking about or haven't talked about yet. So let me switch the screen here. And I made a post like I do prior to most episodes asking for listener participation. And that's how you win on this show, is you got to participate. So if you're not participating, then you miss out on all the cool stuff that we give away on this show. And
that's
today,
an ugly son of a bitch, that.
I'm going to play that. I'm going to let that roll. So first question is Nikolai Aplanap. Why does the bad guy always have to be wearing the Adidas tracksuit? Makes me think I'm the bad guy. So apparently he's got a wardrobe full of tracksuits there.
Well, his name is Nikolai.
Well, among other things.
I'm sure.
He's a long time
because it's cool. Because always, it's cool is the answer.
Yeah, because they look cool. Mustang Perry, what do you guys do when it requires a more discreet approach, but you still need to make sure you have enough protection firepower? Do you carry extra gear in a bag vehicle? And how do you access it if the need arises?
Yeah. So clandestine coverage, everything from tennis racket cases, guitar cases, purses, briefcases, under the jacket, yeah, we can put a lot of lead down range with one of our EP details, just by virtue of what we've got in the truck, what we've got in our back pocket, or what we've got under the coat.
Yeah, and also it's about staging as well. We out giving too much away. We stage stuff.
How much time do you guys? How much time do you like to have? I guess maybe before, like, you're escorting a celebrity or whatever high value client. How much time does it take to scout it out beforehand? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, it really just depends on the project. It depends on the venue. It depends on how much time we've got. A lot of times the schedule doesn't allow you to have 2 weeks in advance, but we'd sure like to have that.
Sure.
Sometimes it's, like I've said before in other podcasts, sometimes the advance is just getting your eyeballs through the door before the client goes through it. But other times it's days in advance, or maybe it's the day before. It just really depends on the schedule. The answer is as much as we would like, as much as we can get.
What's ideal? 2 weeks? Is that kind of the?
Yeah, 2 weeks is good. When we're doing a music tour, we're reaching out a good month in advance on what it looks like for our plane to come in, what it looks like for our bus to come in, what it looks like for the arrangement of the venue or the stage. All of that is done. It can be weeks in advance sometimes. But if you're showing up at the nail salon or the beauty shop, it may be an hour that you get to go and advance that sucker.
Right. Or less, maybe.
Or even less. Yeah.
Do you guys put, if you're going
Simper Gumby?
Yeah, Simper Gumby.
Do you send
Always
somebody
flexible.
at a time to physically scope out terrain situations before these events, or are you Google mapping the majority of this stuff, or how are you?
Well, we certainly use imagery analysis on our advances, but yes, we go in and look at every single thing. We look at every single window, every single car, every single parking spot. Is looked at as part of the threat paradigm. You've got to look at the way the stage is built, where you're going to post your guys. All that stuff boils into it, and it takes time. And it takes a special person. Not everybody is a good advanced guy. Some are better at it than others. It takes a very analytical person to build that graph, for us to go in and have that for all the other guys to consume as a advanced product. We've got the best advanced guys in the business, and I know that because I trained them. I have been doing advance and selling the advance as a product for a long time, and I have the best guys for advance in the whole business. And I'll tell you, Ollie that did our production. Ollie is one of the best advanced guys you could ever have. He can look at a production and know where all of the little intricacies are that are going to cause complications. He's really good at it. We've got another guy. He's actually our helicopter pilot, who is phenomenal at it, and he is a real stickler for making sure that the plan is full and we have all the details. I mean, you got to know everything. You got to know where the closest hospital is, the route to the hospital, all the contact numbers. Everything has to be put into that plan.
The one Brian's talking about asks more questions of me than any other person on our entire staff. There is a distinct difference between executive protection and bodyguard. And what I mean by that is, you may get some big guy who people say, this is my security guy. Well, he's really a bodyguard. they don't put the time into this that we do from the perspective of we're trying to avoid conflict as much as we can. And that takes a lot of time on the front end, as opposed to, you know, a 6'5", 250-pound guy that walks with you through a venue. Those guys are much more likely to get into a confrontational situation than anyone on my team, because we spend a lot more time on the front end of this, seeing what we really need to do to ensure that there are no issues as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Next question. Let's move on to Jerry Black here. He says, there are many crossover tasks between protecting your family and protecting a VIP. What is the most significant difference between the two?
Yeah, forward observation. So, you know, like I said, putting your eyes through the door before your wife goes through the door. You know, I'm a big stickler on. I'm a gentleman, and I will hold the door open for my wife. But I certainly like to make sure I have eyeball on target inside that room before she walks in it.
Cyclops.
We listen. This is actually one of those things, Lefty, that when we're out together, that we have. I don't want to say arguments, but confrontations about who is sitting where.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, you know, when there are multiple individuals on this podcast, you know, we argue about who's sitting where in a certain venue, and it's because it just becomes instinct in what you do when you start talking about what are we really looking for from a threat analysis standpoint.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Bonafide Breed ask a bunch of chump questions here, and I'm just calling him out.
Chump questions.
They're all cheesy questions that he's just throwing out there to get involved in the participation. So,
Lee, do you want to answer these?
No, I'm not even going to ask them because they're too cheesy. B. Hurst asked a good, legitimate question for Lee and William. He said, what loadouts on a K9? How old can dogs be before they are forced to retire, and where do they go? Can new caregivers give commands? I love the dog.
All dogs go to heaven.
That's right.
That's very great. Golden makes good point. Yeah, all good dogs go to heaven. Bottom line of it is all good dogs go to heaven. Well, here's the thing, you know, the loadout on a dog. What we're talking about, loading out a dog. We're not talking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with swords on the backs and stuff like that. You know, dogs should be carrying, in a working environment, should be carrying as little as possible. And that's one, for the welfare of them, and two, it reduces any impact on that environment. But when we talk about loadouts, if we're going to talk about protecting dogs, because that's quite an open question, you know, the dogs could be in level 3 armor. They could be in, you know, and you can get that. You can get level 3 soft armor for the dogs. Level 3A, whatever anybody wants to say here in the States. I get it, it's different. But that stuff is the priority. You know, you don't want to load your dog out. You don't want to put
They're not pack mules. Yeah, they're not pack mules.
Yeah, they're not pack mules. They're your partner, and you want to protect them because they're protecting you. And here's something
probably what he's doing. I'm going to help his question a little bit, but like you're talking about the Kevlar, are you putting cameras on them? You know, are there other maybe technological devices maybe that you're putting on them to help you and to help them with whatever task that they're being used for.
No, I mean,
that can come with any kind of mission. It just depends on what the setting is, what the environment is. It's like us. Our loadout changes based on what we're doing. So 9 times out of 10, no. For the scenario for the dog, you don't want to weigh him down. You don't, if you're going to have a long patrol, or you want to make sure sufficiently that they're hydrated. They have 4 paws on the ground, and they're a lot closer to the ground. They can't sweat. Those are all things you have to keep into consideration, right? So when Lee's talking about the welfare of the dog, you got to be able to read the dog, read the terrain, and pay attention to the scenario and what's the expectation of the mission here. So all that.
I might add the vehicle is a big part of the loadout for a K9. So Lee and Will both have extensively built out vehicles that are designed to accommodate their K9. They have both a cage in the passenger compartment for the K9 to sit in. It's a cool area. The dog is comfortable. The dog has a special cover that keeps them from tearing up the back seat if they're in the back seat, or they're in the back of the K9 pen in the truck. So we have different ways of transporting that dog, but the dog is always in a cool environment. The dog is never overheated. We have the ability to run those vehicles remotely and keep the air conditioner going on those dogs. I've seen some really bad situations, most specifically with law enforcement agencies, where dogs have died in overheating in cars and even in fires in cars. That kind of thing happens where you have a short circuit in a radio and it causes a fire on the dash, and the whole car catches on fire within a couple of seconds, and the dog dies from smoke asphyxiation. You have to be very careful about how you configure a vehicle for a K9. The big thing is having a collapsible dog bowl that the dog always has the ability to drink. You have to also,
always carrying water, always carrying food.
A professional handler is always going to have poop bags. When you're never going to leave a big Dairy Queen chocolate whippy on the floor or in the grass of your client. A professional dog handler is going to have those in his back pocket.
Yeah, and as much as we want to think it, as these dogs are, they're animals. The bottom line of it is they're living, breathing animals, and they will take a poo, they will take a pee in wherever environment they want to take it. If it smells right, that's good for them. They will not go to the lavatory, to the restroom, and do the business and then wash their hands afterwards. They're not going to do that. So we've got to clean up after them. Yeah. So, apologies for misunderstanding that to some degree. Because when you say what's your dog's loadout, my dog's loadout is a harness and that's it. But what's a canine handler's loadout? That's pretty expensive. It's pretty much exactly what's been mentioned.
And like the weapon selection for a K9 handler, something like this that's a little bit more compact, that's a little more capable of being slung conveniently and away from the dog. You've got a lot to deal with when you're running a K9. You've got a lead, running a long-barreled rifle or a suppressed gun that's got a lot of length to it can be problematic, can get tangled up. You need something that's more compact. Everything is going to need to be a little bit more tailored to the K9 handler. Everything from weapons to body armor, even to the footwear you run. Just like Lee's helmet in the video, in the EOD video, his helmet's configured a little bit differently than mine. He's got some specific eye coverage things like that he needs specific to his tasking. He's got not only his blowout kit, his IFAC on his rig, but he's got another kit just for the medical care of his dog. So
talk about the plates that you guys operate with, and the different environments, and the soft plates versus when you would go to the hard plates.
So typically in a venue environment where we're working as an armed guard, our guys tend to wear threat level 3A full body armor that's soft armor. If we're in a high threat environment where we know we're going to get in a fight, and we're going there to get in a fight, or our client is going there to get in a fight, we're going to be wearing plates, and we may be wearing plates and soft armor. When you're in a venue working as the armed guard, a soft armor situation is probably the better format. We also have we have a lot of guys that work in the undercover armed interdiction officer kind of role. So they're working typically in holiday scenarios. We're talking about Christmas. We're talking about New Year's Eve events, large music events or entertainment events, and they're working undercover, and their job is there for them to interdict an attack or an active shooter or a bomber before it happens. So those guys are going to be wearing covert armor, low vis armor, and that may be plates and that may be soft armor. I tell you, a lot of the plates are getting a lot lighter these days.
Yeah.
And
more direct. Is there a certain brand or company that you guys prefer?
We've used a lot of Premier body armor, and we use Premier's really good. I met those guys at the Executive Protection Convention this year, and we were already using their stuff, and they were really nice to us, and we really appreciated their outreach. And we've used, I think most of our armed personnel at most venues are wearing like Safe Life Defense type armor. But if you're working an armed gig with us in uniform as a SAPS agent, you're wearing armor.
I personally have 4 different loadouts that I use, Marty, and that's everywhere from, as Bryan touched on, that covert to level 4 plates, depending on what the situation is. And I think everyone on this call is in that same, same agreement that we're somewhere between covert and old shit.
Sure. And you've also got when we travel overseas, Andy and I, and for that matter, Golden, Andy and I have traveled and worked a lot in Africa together, and we were running soft armor because we can't carry soft armor, or we can't carry plates out of the country without ITAR approval.
But we can now.
Well, we can now because we have ITAR approval, but to just go out of the country and travel with your client to somewhere and you want to carry your body armor, plates are a no-go for the most part due to ITAR regulations. Same with helmets.
That goes with all that stuff and everything else, right? Your ammo that you use, I'm sure that they're highly restricted on.
Night vision.
We now have approval, though, Marty, that we are able to personally carry those items that a lot of people aren't able to.
Gotcha.
Overseas, so that's a State Department qualification. You have to apply for that. It's some hoops you have to jump through, but that's one of the things that's the kind of thing that we do to be prepared. Is we set ourselves up with that kind of thing, that kind of liability.
Yeah.
And just for the sake of the show,
liability protection.
We talked about this a little bit before the show actually started, but there's a lot of there's a lot of basis to how all of this started from overseas contracts. 3-4 years ago, Bryan and I didn't know each other, and I get the 7 a.m. phone call from Andrew of, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "What in the hell do you mean? What am I doing? I mean, it's 7 a.m."
I wish Andrew was on this call.
Well,
pink.
It's blown.
Start over.
It's already blown.
Edit. And at the end of the day, I was on the cover of Tactical Weapons magazine. I'm pretty skylined as it is.
It's like that good old song. Andrew, who the fuck is Andrew?
That's really how all this started, though. I mean, as funny as it is, Pink calls me from Tanzania, and he's like, "Hey, you've got to meet this guy." And one thing led to another, and 3 or 4 years later, I mean,
the best ideas happen at the bar on a napkin,
but most of those don't happen in Tanzania.
That's true. That's true.
And at this point, these are my closest friends. So we talk about all the things we offer as a company, but at the end of the day, it all starts with relationships. And the relationships that we have amongst each other are the same relationships that we try to take out to our clients, in that they know at the end of the day they're taken care of. I will walk into any situation anywhere in the world with anyone on this call. I don't care what the situation is. Every person on this call, I will put my life on the line for.
Oh, and we have, and we do. I mean, it's a regular thing for us to fly into some country that most people don't want to go to, and go do stuff that most people don't want to do.
Yeah.
One of these days, Marty, your podcast is not going to be about what we offer. It's going to be about the stories that we have refused to tell to anyone else.
Well, I wanted to talk about stories, but I know there's some things that you guys can't talk about, but I don't want you guys to be jealous, because we talked earlier about, Lee doing autographs, but it looks like he's got a groupie already.
Oh, no.
Because we got a comment here that says, "Oh, Lee, my hero, miss you so much."
That's because they don't understand anything he's saying, Marty.
Yeah.
The accent.
Lee is very big in the LGBT community.
Very, very big.
Kicks and doubles. I don't know. Do you know?
Something like a donkey. That's the only reason. These guys are like.
Will, why are you hiding your face?
Crocodile pigs, all that shit.
It's okay to have. Nothing wrong with that.
He's Dolly Parton's K9 handler. I mean, how can you not have a gay following?
Right.
You have to. It's okay, Lee. We still love you.
All spectrum.
Motherfucking guy.
So go ahead, Marty. I'm sorry.
So I've got one final question that I want to ask everybody. I'm going to go around the table, and I'm going to start with Golden. And what is your favorite either TV show or movie that deals with a bodyguard?
Oh, I'm going to say, what is it? Man Under Fire?
Man on Fire.
Man on Fire. There's
Denzel Washington.
There's a whole lot of truth to that. People don't understand that at the end of the day, everybody here, when it comes to a protection detail, is willing to give up their life for the client.
Yeah. And I do this thing on each episode is I use a name. You can see that's not my real name.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody here gets that, but that's getting into this question. So, Pink, what about you?
As much as I love Kevin Costner, I've got to stick with my man Denzel and go with Golden with Man on Fire
Man on
for sure.
Fire.
Absolutely, that's one of those that comes across on AMC. Sorry, kids, that's what we're watching tonight. Don't even care what part of the movie it's on.
Yeah, regardless of who thinks what, we're watching that movie.
I love it. That's hilarious. There it is, Man on Fire.
Absolutely.
And William, what about you?
Well, I don't want to seem like I'm following in row here, but that was my go-to.
Now there are other ones.
There are. I don't know if I have a favorite. I just have kind of one thing to say about the group that we're all here with. It's the inspiration is as contagious as the flu, and I kind of tell everybody that when I'm teaching and leading people, and that's something these guys have all provided to me, and I'm really appreciative of it. And I just wanted to put that out there while I had the opportunity to. So.
All right, enough of the sappiness. Come on.
Oh,
it's
I'm sure you boys appreciate that, though.
Lee, it took a long time for us to get to this point, Marty.
Lee, what about you?
You know what? I'm going to be, everybody go with the Bodyguard. Everybody's going to go with Man on Fire. But you've got to go with the good old Clint Eastwood In the Line of Fire.
In the Line of Fire. I love it. That's a good one.
I think that's an epic film. I think the story behind it is psychologically epic. It's something to be reckoned with. And just to add what Will was saying, I know I get what Will's saying. I'm going to be a snapping motherfucker because I don't care right now. But inspiration's everything. The team we have, the company that we've produced, Pink, Golden, and Bryan have produced something very special in this industry. And I would not have moved my whole life here if I didn't think that was something worth having. And that right there, yeah, that's a movie to be told.
There you go.
Movie coming soon. You may get the first shot at it, Lefty.
I mean, you guys have the producer and director and stuntman all rolled in one. So
the stories we can tell.
So mine, and the name that I have here is related to the Hitman's Bodyguard, Michael Bryce, but I love it in the sequel, the Hitman's Bodyguard's wife, or the Hitman's wife's bodyguard.
That was a good one.
Selma Hayek. She called him Brees, Michael Brees.
Yep.
It's hilarious.
Funny enough, I just watched that like 3 nights ago.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I love it. But here's the ultimate bodyguard right here.
Yeah, how did I not think of that one? Oh.
The Terminator.
I bet say
on the line.
You missed me. You missed me on my choice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bryan. What is yours?
Proof of Life.
I assumed it would be The Bodyguard because Dolly.
Nah, everybody expects I'm going to pick I Will Always Love You, The Bodyguard. And that's a great one. And I love the movie. I actually had to stick Kevin Costner on the wall one time when he jumped out on us in a hallway in the Lowe's Vanderbilt Plaza. And he was scruffy and in some dirty jeans and a ripped T-shirt. And he jumped out around the corner and tried to surprise my client. And I had to grab him up and throat pinch him against the wall. And my client screamed, "That's Kevin Costner. Let him go. Let him go."
Let him go.
And I looked at him and I said, Kevin, you should have known better. You're the bodyguard.
So what was your movie?
My favorite bodyguard movie is Proof of Life with Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan.
Yeah, that's a good movie too.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And mainly because not only is he a bodyguard, he's the dude that will also come and rescue you.
And that's right. He'll come get you out of that sticky situation.
Yeah. We could go through so many different movies right now, Marty. But the reality is we all live by the same principle. And that principle is, as hard as it is to swallow for a lot of people, is client comes first. And I wish the Secret Service had the same mentality, but that's another podcast.
Well, they're getting ready to get reprogrammed, so
hopefully.
I heard Kash Patel got put in today. He got confirmed today, so that's a good.
Right. How crazy is that, right?
I mean, this whole thing, 30 days. Look what he's done in 30 days. This isn't a political show, so we're not going to get into that.
Insane.
Any last things that you guys want to cover before we sign off here?
I'll go ahead and be the first one to speak and say thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for the time. I mean, I'm looking in the corner right now. We're over 3 hours. Okay, for someone to spend 3 hours of their time on us means the world to me.
Listen, that's not even touching the tip of. We could go a lot longer. We haven't even got into a lot of the stuff that you guys do, and I want to have you back on, but thank you for that. Continue.
I mean, really, it's indicative of what we do and what you do, that we try to provide the most information, the best service that we can to not only our clients, but to everyone out there. As I have said numerous times in this podcast, and I will stick by it, I have the best people in the world. That's not me. That's the guys that work for us. And, I look forward to another day here, another podcast with you. But ultimately, guys, stay safe. We're living in a tumultuous world right now that we need to be focused on what can happen.
Yeah.
Well said.
Marty, I can't thank you enough. We since I ran into you and we created our friendship, it's been a wonderful ride, and you've been a big supporter to us, to the Tennessee Ranger Squadron, to Squadron Augmented Protection Services, to Fence Bridge. You have really been a great fan and a great friend to us, and I appreciate it.
Well, we got to thank Art for that. So Art at Royal Range, we
that's right.
Appreciate the introduction. Yeah, he's a great.
Art's 100%. Awesome. Royal Range is awesome. We love them. That's our home, man. We love that spot.
Absolutely. A shout out to Art and Royal Range. They've hosted events for us and are definitely a supporter. And at this point, Marty, I feel privileged to add you to that list of people who support what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish. And, I consider you and your show a friend of everything we're doing, from the Rangers to SAPS to Fence Bridge. What we're doing both internally and what we're doing internationally, it's people like you who help get the message out.
On that note, Marty, make sure your passport's up to date because you need to come out of country with us.
It's up to date. I'm ready to go. Got my shots. Let's do it.
If it's up to date, get your fucking camera ready because some shit's about to happen.
I'm ready. All you gotta do is let me know. Give me a day's notice. And
from my perspective, I'm hugely grateful for this opportunity, for every opportunity that's been given to me. I would not be talking to you, Marty, if it wasn't for Bryan. It was Bryan which put you in touch with me, gave me that opportunity, gave me that position to shine. Now I want to kind of pass that shine to Will a little bit, but before I do, the whole deal about this is we just want security to be the forefront of everything, as in any client's need to be safe should be security, and it should be non-questionable, not have I got the right people, have I got this, have I got that. There should just be the fact of, no, these are the guys, this is what I'm getting, this is the service delivered. And that is what I want to accomplish with this company. This is one of the things that I want to accomplish, amongst much more. But like I say, I'm not gonna dive too much more into it. I'll let Will have a shot at it.
I'm just excited I was invited today. I'm excited that I'm able to be part of what we're doing here and trying to set a new standard in this industry. And I'm grateful. There's a lot of good guys in this group and some of the best men I've ever met. And I'm excited to see where we go, see what happens. So,
right on.
Hey, but before we get to Andrew, because he's the last one.
He's going to be the last one. He's the Marine sniper. Why would he be the last one?
It's blown.
Pink. But before we get to Pink, I'm going to throw it out there. I think everyone who has listened to this show knows that we do all of Dolly security, but we are far beyond that. I mean, we have a couple of different Memphis rappers as well. We certainly spread the spectrum within our continental U.S. clients. Not to mention that, Bryan and Andrew have spent a lot of time with foreign dignitaries in Africa. I jokingly say we've operated on 6 of the 7 different continents. I have no desire to go to Antarctica, but outside of that, we'll go anywhere. And I am certain that I can provide the best people wherever you're at.
That's a great setup for Pink.
Yeah, what else is there to say? Everybody's, expressed our heartfelt gratitude for each other, for you, what you've done bringing us here and coming out with us for the video shoot. Look forward to possibly doing this in the future. And like Bryan said, keep your passport ready. We've always got some things popping up. In fact, the best trips are the ones that typically just pop up out of nowhere. And it's just hey, can you go? And yeah, I can go. And then all of a sudden you're in a bar at, 5 in the afternoon in Dar es Salaam, wondering, hey, I wonder where Golden is right now. he should be here, and love to extend that to you for our next trip as well. Maybe next time we're out overseas, we'll be like, wonder where Lefty is right now. He'd love to be here.
There you go. Definitely.
No, next time is going to be Lefty's with us. Do you have a camera ready?
Always. And just so happens I know how to wield a samurai sword too. So,
hoorah!
Bryan, give everybody Instagrams, websites. We talked earlier. I've had several people contact me, very interested in how they can become a part of SAPS.
100%. So send them to www.tnsaps.com. Send us an email. There's a contact page with a contact link on there, and that'll get you in our onboarding process if you qualify. Hit us with a message. Let us know who you are. We don't know what to do with you if we don't know who you are.
There you go. Perfect. And the Instagram I gave earlier, it's SAPS_LLC.
That's right.
You guys go there, give them a follow, let them know you heard them here on the podcast. And then if you've got follow-up questions, you can either email me, TalkingLead@gmail.com, and I can forward it to them, or they've got their contact info there on the screen. Bryan just gave it to you. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you, feedback about the show. And if you want to sign up for a training course, you go to their website. Do you have your schedule on your website?
No schedule, but on the website. But we can accommodate you and get you plugged in.
There you go.
And I'll go one step further. If there's something in training that you think is beneficial to yourself individually or your entity, your organization, we will tailor that training to you.
Very good. So I've got this upcoming episode that I'm working on, and you had mentioned that you guys do some training on how to get intel about your neighbors, your surrounding area, your town, to
community intelligence.
And I want to do an episode on that. So I would love to get you guys back on when I have that episode, because I know you've got a wealth of information that can contribute to that episode too. So
absolutely, and some other guests.
Yeah, definitely going to have you guys back on. Really looking forward to where you guys are taking this company, all the exciting things that you are doing, that you're offering. You're kind of going where no company has gone before. So it's exciting, and I am privileged to be a part of this. I appreciate you guys involving me, especially in your promotional video this past couple of weeks. It was awesome. So more to come from SAPS and all the guys that you got on the show here, and then ones that we haven't even mentioned yet. So
that's right. Yeah.
Good.
Marty,
good.
Thank you, man.
Coming. So Leadheads, go give them a follow. Let them know how much you appreciate them. Go buy Lee's book on Amazon. We've plugged that on a couple of past episodes.
He's a great author.
Yeah, K9 Executive by Lee Jackson. It's on Amazon, self-published, but hey, who cares?
Who cares? And we're bringing you more Leadheads. So until the next episode, as always, keep your loved ones close.
And your guns closer.
Close. Firearms closer. And your K9.
Thanks, guys.
Rifle. And your G.
Always have to have them ready.
And your MP5. I didn't ask you what sniper rifle you prefer, Pink. What?
Yeah, so I'm pretty stuck on the Seiko TRG 42 and 338 Lapua mag. As far as being able to do everything, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard before. The first rule of special operations is look cool, and I've always found that gun to be just impeccably sexy. My wife is super jealous of it, but yeah, that's pretty much what I run with since I got out. Obviously they wouldn't let me take my rifle with me. Despite all the other stuff that they told me I couldn't take with me, that I absolutely did.
Hey, don't talk about your wife.
She said she didn't like that thing.
Aha! What are you drinking?
Should get some whiskey.
You're muted.
I think we're all drinking whiskey here tonight.
Well, shit. No one told me.
Gatorade Zero. Glacier Cherry.
Sounds like somebody named Pink would drink.
Who are you? I don't even know you now.
Fuck your intelligent with them cunts on.
All right, you guys ready to get this party started?
Golden, square your camera up a little bit. I'm seeing half of you. A little bit more that way.
He's got
there
it.
You go.
Perfect. You got the casting couch going on in the background.
Hey! Everybody don't need to know that.
See some heads bobbing up and down on us.
It's not that kind of podcast.
See, Marty, we have 2 Marines on this podcast, so get ready.
I had 4 last podcast, so.
Okay, it's not like these.
We may or may not be unfiltered.
These ones are special.
I don't know. All got pretty worked up.
We don't get worked up.
Word.
We may just say some things.